but the machine is old and really janky and like was filling with water. Like the first week I lived here after I did laundry, it was like dripping and just like filling, and apparently there's just like I had to run the spin cycle for it to stop.
Oh.
Yeah, and like it was fine. And like the dryer like doesn't spin. Like you have to like push it a few times and then like
It can't get started on its own?
No, it can't.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, my
but at least it's free.
Yeah, that's really nice. I have to go through, it's not like super expensive, but they actually did just jack up the price, annoyingly. Probably because I broke it kind of. We have one in the basement of our apartment building, so like shared between all the people who live there. It's like 6 units, so it's not that many people. But a few months back, I went downstairs to do some laundry, and then I put the quarters in the washer and, like pressed in the thing. But then the thing wouldn't come back out.
Was it like too full?
This is my idea, is that the people who run the apartment building just never do anything. So over the years, it just got more full and full with quarters. So it's like jammed full with quarters, which is why it stuck in there.
Yeah.
And then it wouldn't come back out, which means it wouldn't actually start. So it was just stuck. And then this had happened to me one time before, and using a hammer and just smacking it worked. Like to get it pop back out and start going. So I went upstairs to grab a hammer, and I was just smacking it like as hard as I could multiple times, and I was chipping off fragments of this like metal like washing machine thing, and it didn't work that time, and I actually pushed it further back in. So then it was just like completely jammed. I was like, all right, I guess I'm not doing laundry today. I took out all my clothes, and then I was just hoping that like somebody would come along and fix it or whatnot. Like they'd have better luck than I did. And like weeks went by, and I would check periodically, and it was still just jammed shut.
Oh my gosh!
So nobody in my apartment building could wash their clothes.
Wait, you only had one?
We have one washer, one dryer.
Oh my gosh!
Yeah,
you should have two for like 6 units.
We should, because it happens a lot where I'm going down to do my laundry, and then there's like a queue. There's a little table there, and there's like 3, what's the word, like hampers full of clothes sitting there waiting for the next person to be done. And there's this Russian guy that I live across from who's sitting there doing like Sudoku, just waiting for his turn in laundry.
In the basement of your apartment.
Yeah. And sometimes he's like so impatient because like the laundry runs for like 30 minutes and then it's done. So I set a timer for like, I don't know, 30, 40, something like that, because I don't know exactly how long it is. So I set a timer maybe for 40 minutes. And then after 30 minutes, he comes upstairs and knocks on my door and is like, laundry. And I'm like, yeah, I know I'm going to come down there. I just didn't know it was done at this second.
Yeah.
Like, since he's down there doing Sudoku, he knows exactly when it's done. So he comes up and tells me to get my clothes out of there.
So he can go wash his clothes. Oh my gosh.
Like, you could have just waited 5 more minutes and I'd be down there. Like, you didn't have to remind me.
He is impatient.
He's like scolding me all the time. So anyway, I was checking and it still wasn't fixed. And then finally it did get fixed at some point, but at the same time they jacked up the price. They made it go from $1 to $1.75
for a load
in the washer and a load in the dryer, like separately.
Okay.
So it goes up basically double the price.
Because so I don't have to pay, but Jared does, and it is like $6 total.
Yeah, that's a lot.
Or something like that. It's ridiculous. We're like, here, we have enough quarters, and then we like do one load of laundry, and there's like 3 quarters left.
Yeah.
We're like, okay, guess we gotta get more.
Yeah, I like go to work or like the bank or something to get a roll of like $10 of quarters, and it lasts me like 3 times.
Yeah, it goes so fast. It's annoying.
Yeah, I do have a laundromat across the street from my house, but
is it cheaper?
I see. It's weird because it's kind of cheaper, but it also, I feel like the drying cycle doesn't actually dry the clothes completely, so I have to run it multiple times. So I don't think it ends up being cheaper.
Yeah. And
just takes longer.
Yeah, and then you have to like drive there.
Well, yeah, I mean it's just like literally across the street, so I can just walk. But then it's like, do I want to just leave my clothes there? And like for some reason, if somebody wanted to, they could just steal them. So then if I want to guard against that, I have to sit there like the Russian man waiting by my clothing.
Is it worth it?
I'd rather be doing something else with my time.
Yeah. Trust it. Yeah, I get that.
I'd prefer to just do it in my basement, but now it's so expensive.
Gotta get your own unit.
Yeah. Don't have any room for that. My apartment is kind of small. Yeah, these are the struggles of living in an apartment. Living in a house would be nicer, but nobody can afford that these days.
No. I'm trying to move out after this because when everybody moves back in, I don't want to go back to my parents' house.
Yeah.
And I was talking to somebody about potentially being roommates, and we actually like went out for coffee and like took this like roommate quiz thing, which is like asks you all these questions about like how often do you do the dishes, all the way down to like what are your political views, to like see if you'd be like compatible.
Yeah.
And it was a lot of fun, and she was great, but she would have moved here for a job, but I don't think she got the job, so she's not moving here. So yeah, now I'm searching.
So you're only going to live in this place for just a few months?
Yes. So like mid-August, I think, which I really kind of hope that one of them just like doesn't come back so that I can have the room.
Oh, so you like have to move out?
Yeah. I'm like sub-leasing.
Right. Wait, for like 2 months?
For like
when did you move
summer. In June.
Yeah, like 2.5 months.
Yeah. I just like bought select things.
Oh, okay. You didn't have to do a full move.
Yeah, none of this stuff is mine.
Oh, okay.
Some of
At
the
least that's
plants
nice.
are mine. That dress form is mine with that like
Oh yeah, that's cool.
And then like I work over there because I work from home. So this is all like their stuff.
Welcome to the Regular People Podcast. I'm Wade Allen, and today I'm joined by Rachel. Well, this is something I always ask nowadays because it seems like a lot of people want to. Do you want to be anonymous? Do you want to be first name only? Or do you not have a preference?
You can do first name only.
Okay.
Yeah, that's...
All right. Yeah, today I'm joined by Rachel. Hi.
Hello.
So we have a few topics lined up to discuss today, but as usual, what I'm going to do is ask you about yourself so listeners can get to know you a little bit.
Sure.
So I don't know if it's even a good question, so maybe you can answer whatever you like. But the question I usually ask is 5-year history, how you've changed, who you are, your personal evolution over that time.
Yeah. Okay. 5 years ago, I was still in high school. I believe I do the math right.
Yeah, how old are you?
I'm 22.
Yeah, probably still in high school unless you graduated when you were young.
No. Yeah, so I was still in high school, just like finishing up my senior year, I believe. Not much happened. I don't think I was much of a like my own person then. A lot of like just following what everyone else is doing and just kind of like blending in.
That's probably most teenagers.
Yeah.
Most people even. Because
as soon as I got out of high school and I like decided to go like to continue my education, I was going to go to UWM actually, but I like last minute decided not to because I was not satisfied with any of the majors offered. And I thought that the tuition was a little expensive for...
What majors were you looking for at the time?
I wanted to please my parents in the sense that I'd find a job that, or enter a career that would like sustain. Yeah. And so I was like looking into business, but I like wasn't very satisfied with just like how black and white that can be, if that makes sense. It's just like corporate, like everybody goes into marketing.
Oh, yeah.
You know, like it's just like the generic, like, and I get it because that's like what I was going to do. I don't know, psychology never like was super interesting, and like I knew that there really wasn't anything if I like studied history other than like teaching it, and I didn't really want to.
Yeah, history seems like a hard degree to get a job. From, at least from the people I know.
And then the science related things I never was super into. I like physics. That's like the only cool. Yes, that is when I eventually did take like classes in college. I only took like physics classes to like be my to complete my gen ed stuff. Yeah,
like the whatever mandatory science classes.
Yes.
Physics.
Yes. Okay. So yeah, there was nothing at UWM, and I kind of wanted to do something more arts based, but not just get a generic arts degree.
Right.
And my dad actually was like, "You should go into fashion. Like Mount Mary offers like this like summer boot camp thing for like young kids to like experience fashion and like create." And I was going to do it 1 year, but I had family coming into town, so I wasn't able to. But I was like, yeah, I guess. So I decided not to go to UWM and go to UW-Waukesha, which is now part of UWM. It's just like,
really?
Yes, there was like a merge a few years ago. So it's like the Waukesha campus of UWM.
Oh, okay. But at the time it was separate?
Yes. Yeah, because the first year we went there, they were like just discussing it. And then I went there for 2 years. And then the second year, they were like getting ready to merge. And by the third year I wasn't there, they like had officially merged.
Mm.
Yeah.
Wait, where did you grow up? Like what city or county?
I grew up in Brookfield.
Oh, okay. So yeah, Waukesha is pretty close.
Yeah.
One county over.
Mm-hmm. And I applied there, just like not sure if just as like another option other than UWM.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I went there for 2 years, did gen ed stuff, and then decided that I was going to pursue like fashion.
Cool.
So then I transferred to Mount Mary a few years ago, and now I'm finishing my degree there, but I actually have to spend a total of 4 years at Mount Mary on top of the 2 years I spent.
Really?
Yes. So I literally have to stay here for 6 years.
Wait, why is that?
So the program is such a unique major, and the school is so small that I cannot like take classes over the summer.
Yeah.
And so they only offer like 6 to 9 credits each semester for fashion, like for the degree that I'm doing, fashion design, because they expect me to be doing my gen eds too.
Oh, so like if you would have known that, it would have been more efficient to just
Yes.
do it all at once.
Yes.
The gen eds and the fashion at Mount Mary.
Yes. And so
Yeah.
now I'm part-time now because like, I mean, I could be full-time, but I'm like
You'd be taking classes
sick of
that are
school.
like irrelevant to your
Yes,
major?
which like is cool. Like there's some classes that I'm like, okay, like just for fun.
Yeah.
But I'm also just like, I need to pay bills.
Right.
I need to finish my degree, and then I need to like get a real job.
Yeah. Are you paying for your college?
Yes and no. So my parents set up mutual funds a long
Mm.
time ago to help my sister and I both like pay, and they're like, you get this much money, and like, so go where you want, and like
Yeah.
you spend it how you want.
Okay.
And so I think my last year I'll be out of money, so I will have to like find I don't know, 60K. Like
What? That much?
I think, well, no, it would be 30 because that's the whole. But I have a scholarship, but I've lost it because I'm not full time anymore.
Oh, okay.
So I'm really like, yeah, it's done me dirty.
Yeah, that is the annoying thing. If it's like FAFSA, like government grants, you basically need to be going full time in order to get the money.
And my parents make too much for them to
Do that?
yeah. give me anything.
Yeah, this summer semester, I kind of ran into that problem because I'm just taking one class just to get ahead in like the 4-year plan thing, taking calculus, and it's a 5-credit class. And to get the FAFSA government grant for the summer, you need to be taking 6 credits. So I signed up just like real quick right before the semester started for 1 credit Spanish class, just
okay, that's
to have 6. But then like, no, actually you need to take 6 credits, but all of those credits need to be like relevant to your program plan, which Spanish wasn't because I'm going for a science degree.
Yeah.
So then I could either take a class that is relevant and put me over 6, which I guess would be fine. That'd put me like at 9 or 10. But then that would mean, because I'm basically at the end of my associate degree, so the fall semester is my last semester. So if I did enough to get me the grant money for summer, then that would mean I don't have enough classes for fall that are relevant, you know? Because I would be basically taking 1 class from my fall plan and putting it in summer, which would put me under the amount I need for fall. So it's a lose-lose either way.
Yeah.
To try and
So you have to figure
get ahead in the timeline. So.
Exactly. My parents are like, why aren't you doing this or doing that? And it's like, I can't. Like, they don't offer anything.
Yeah, that sucks.
It is what it is. I just get to sit here and be in school for another 2 years.
Yeah.
And hopefully it'll all work out.
I mean, you'll still be younger than I am when we both finish our degrees.
Yeah.
So that's something you've got going.
You know, people like go to school and like get big degrees and spend, I don't know, like 10 years there.
Yeah.
And then it's like, I spent 6 and I have a degree that like isn't super beneficial. Like I can't do a ton with it. And I'm just like, okay.
Yeah, one thing I think about a lot is like how much of a scam is college? Because so many people I know are in debt now and have to pay these astronomical loans until they're probably like 40,
Yeah.
and they're working at the same job I have. This is an entry-level job that anybody could get.
Exactly.
So like, what did your college degree really do for you? I'm going to college right now, so maybe I'm scamming myself.
But I think you're doing like you're going to a smaller community school.
Yeah. Right now, the only semester I've had to pay any money for is this summer one because of the problem I just described. Every past semester, it's been free.
Yeah. And I think that's like you're still getting an education.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I think it's definitely a good thing as like betterment as a person to like educate yourself on everything. I just don't know, how do you even know which degree is going to actually get you a good job that like you couldn't get if you didn't have that degree?
I think a lot of it comes from experience.
Yeah.
Because most people in like what they go to school for and where they end up are like two different things.
Yeah.
And it's like how you build on like getting jobs and experiences that help you so you can put that on your resume so that you can like show up to a job and be like, I didn't necessarily go to school for this, but I have experience in all of this and I think I could be beneficial to you. And like that's I think how, because like I would love like, well, I love where we work, but it's not beneficial to like where I want to go and what I want to do. Even though like I love the community and like serving people and being with people, but like that's why I got this new job is like get
some experience.
Yes.
Yeah.
Because,
that's smart.
Yeah, because it's like it's great that you like put in these like 40 hours a week at this one job but it has nothing to do with what you actually want to do. So is it actually benefiting you other than just like
giving you some money in the meantime?
Exactly.
Yeah, the tricky thing, at least for me though, is before you can actually get a job that's going to give you experience for better jobs down the line, you kind of have to decide what you want to do with your life in the first place. You know?
Kind of.
Like, one problem I've struggled with is just having too many interests where I can't decide on a singular interest.
Yeah.
So it's like, I could do this, but then that would mean closing the door to this, and this, and then I end up just like not doing any of it really, which is probably a worse problem to have. That's really the main reason that I chose to start going to college at like age 24 or whatever I was when I started, just because I think it's like kind of a waste of your life to just never decide on a thing, and it's better to arbitrarily decide on one thing, even if that's not perhaps like at the end of your life the thing that you would have chosen if you have enough time to finally decide. But just to make a decision and just go with it rather than twiddling your thumbs like I was doing for like 7 years. Just working at random jobs, not being able to decide what I wanted to do.
Yeah. I still don't even know exactly what I want to do in the fashion industry. Mm-hmm. Just because I don't like a lot of it.
Yeah.
I really hate retail and like shoving things down people's throat and being like, buy this because I need money. It's just like, I don't believe in your product. Like I love creating it, but like I hate the retail aspect, and that's like the first step in like the fashion industry. Is like, work a retail job, like put that on your resume. And I did, and I was fired because I couldn't sell anything.
Oh wait, what job was that?
It's a boutique. That
was it like commission based, like you?
So yes and no. So it was hourly, and then there was commission on top of the hourly. Okay. So it was really nice because I would like if you sell things, because then you get like so much extra on top of the hours that you like put in. Right.
So like you were judged on how much you sold things, and if you didn't meet a certain quota, then you got fired for
yes and no. So the business is like a small business, so there's like none around here, and it's a franchise though, so you can like invest this much money and then like get your own store. Okay. But it still like has to follow the criteria. Yeah. I was hired with, I think there were like 4 or 5 people that worked there, and they were all like middle-aged women. And like they were all nice. I had nothing bad to say about them. But the manager that hired me, I loved, and she was great. And she's like, you have potential. But I had no like sales experience at all. But she like saw that there was potential, and she ended up leaving because she needed insurance, and this place like didn't offer insurance. And so they hired a new manager, and this new manager was like, she's like, we need to get sales up, we need to do this, we need to do that. And then she like had a few chats with me and was like, you need to sell better, like try like whatever, I don't know. She like would try to be like, well, how, like if you were trying to sell something to me, like what would you talk to me about, or like how would you like introduce these items? And it's like, I don't know, because I literally have never had experience in sales, and so like I need someone to teach me.
Oh yeah, there's like no on-the-job training. They just expect you to be able to somehow.
And it's like, okay,
pull it out of nowhere.
I did a lot. Like we'd get shipments of like clothing, and I'd have to like bring them all in, make sure all the sizes were correct, tag them, steam them, label them, put them away. I don't know. I loved doing all of that stuff because it's just like I didn't have to deal with people. Because if it's like when we serve, it's like, this is our menu, and like how can we help you?
Yeah.
But when you come into like a clothing store, like you can talk about anything under the sun. It's a lot harder in my opinion.
Yeah, I really dislike sales and having to convince people to buy things. It's not for me. It's not fun.
No, there was like one sale I think I was only successful in is because I actually like liked the product, because it was a vegan leather like purses.
Like that's how you do it. Like if you actually like the thing, then it's easy to sell it because you're enthusiastic about it and you actually care if people buy it or not.
Mm-hmm.
Just having a job where you're expected to care about things you don't care about, it's like impossible to do.
Oh my gosh, some of the stuff was so bad. Like it was just ugly.
Yeah.
And like really bad quality, and we were charging like $70 some. And I'm like, I don't believe it. Like
yeah.
So no, I do that, but as my new job that I just got, I literally do the same thing. I sell things to people, but I have a computer that I use instead of like physically being with them.
Right. How long have you been at the new job?
2 weeks.
Does it feel better or different from that one you were just describing?
Yes. In the sense it's a subscription based service. And it's like a try before you buy. So like you fill out a quiz, you tell me your preferences, and then I have like your height and like what bra size you wear and whatever, and you can like add any notes if you don't like certain colors, if you don't like certain styles, you can like specify all that, and then I pick out based on what we have in stock a box of 7 items, and I send it to you, and then you have 5 days to keep them or return them. And then you can like offer feedback why you didn't like these things, and you can do it every month, every 3 months. We have like different themed boxes for like summer and outdoors ones and stuff. So I like it better because it's like a puzzle to me. It's like, okay, you like these colors, this is your size, like you don't like these things, you do like these things, and then this is what I have to work with, and I have to like ideally make outfits for you, not just like send you 7 random things, but things you can wear together, and then like explain why, because I get to leave a note. But like, yeah, explain why I chose these things for them, and then that's it.
Has it gone well so far?
I have no idea.
You haven't gotten any feedback yet from it, or
not yet? I mean, I have like, I can look at the statistics, but like nothing's in, because like it takes so long for us like to like print it all like out, go through our like warehouse to like package it all up and then ship it out, and then for people to have those 5 days.
Right.
And
so it just hasn't elapsed yet.
I don't think so. I hope that it's going well, because I like think that I'm doing a good job.
Yeah.
And like there's this lady the other day that was like super picky. Like I read through like paragraphs of things that she was like saying about each box and what she really likes, and it's like accounting like what time frame that she said these things to be like what's most relevant and current that she like is into. She's like, I like white shirts but with like words on them, but if the majority of it is white, then I don't want it. And it's just like there are little things like that. It's like I don't like pants that cuff at the ankles because it's too tight.
Yeah.
Like
I'm surprised that she knows what she likes so specifically. I feel like most people don't have that clear of an image of describing what kind of things they like to wear.
Yeah. I mean, I spent a good like 30 minutes on that order. And like you should spend like you should do I don't know how many you should do an hour cuz I'm at like I technically finished my second week, which I'm still supposed to be training my second week, but after my first week they're like, "Nah, you're good. You can do it on your own." So I like consider myself in the third week, so I'm supposed to be doing like 25ish orders a day.
Oh yeah.
And so I've been like 25, anywhere from 20 to 25 orders I've been doing, which is good because I'm like a week ahead of what they projected for people. So, but yeah, I spent a long time on hers.
It's like 3 an hour. Do you work like 8 hours at home and then do you just do that all at once or do you kind of spread it out over the course of the entire day?
I get one lunch break, which I actually take, and then I get 2 15-minute paid breaks, what I don't take. Because I'm just like, oh, I get up and go to the bathroom or like get more water, and like I do that periodically. Like I don't just like wait for a 15-minute period to like do that. Right. That's like not enough time.
It's kind of weird that they have that structure even when you're working from home. Because I've had jobs where you have a paid break, and then when you're working physically with other people, like it makes sense to take those. But I feel like at least for most people working from home, you just take breaks whenever you want to.
Yep.
And in my experience from observing people working from home or knowing about them, it's like most of the day is a break.
Not my days.
Okay. You're a more diligent worker, or maybe your job is more demanding than some other people.
It's not like, oh, just get this done. Like these
Right.
are your tasks. It's like keep doing orders till we don't have any.
Yeah. Yeah, it's not a set amount of things you have to do in a day. It's just like as many as you can fit in. Yeah, because if it's like this is your one project that you have to finish by the end of the week, it's like as long as you finish it, you could spend as much or as little time as you need to on it, which sometimes is like 2 hours in the whole week.
Yeah.
And you just say you were working that whole time, but really you were doing whatever.
I like honestly I can't lie in that regard. Like I would feel really bad. Yeah. I'm like, yeah, I spent 8 hours every single day working on this. Like here it is. And I didn't. Yeah.
One problem that like my girlfriend runs into is that she's given a task to do. Maybe it's just the one task of the day, but she finishes it and then she has nothing else to do in that day. So it's not even so much like that you're slacking off or anything. It's just that
you done.
The task that you were like, it didn't take nearly as long as was expected to.
Sure.
So then like in industries or jobs like that, it seems like the thing people do is just stretch out the work unnecessarily. Like my boss expects us to take a day. For me, it takes an hour. I'm going to make it take a day, even though it doesn't need to at all.
You wouldn't like go to your boss and be like, hey, I finished.
Yeah.
Do you need me to do anything else?
I wonder. I guess you could, but then do you really want to have more things piled on top of you, or I don't know.
I feel like if you can finish something fast, then there isn't anything piled on top of you. If they like add something, I guess.
Yeah. Okay, so our topics that we were going to talk about today. We already were talking about fashion a little bit, but yeah. So we're going to talk about fashion / creating, minimalism, Catholicism, and fitness.
Yeah. If we could get through all of those.
Yeah, we might not get through them all. It's okay. The podcast I just did was with my brother, and he had a list of like 7 topics.
Oh, wow.
We got through like 3.5 of them. So we don't have to get through all of them. As many as however much amount of conversation each one of them yields. So fashion, what's the name of the like degree that you're getting?
So I am getting a bachelor's of fashion design, a bachelor's of art and fashion design, I think, something like that.
Oh, okay. So
there's like 2 routes you can do fashion. There's the design and then the merchandising. So merchandising is like floor plans of stores, fashion buying. So like there's a thing called market where you can, all these brands. So like for instance, like Boston Store like sells these certain brands, and fashion buyers from Boston Store will go to market and pick out items from each of these brands that they think will do well for them. And then like they get to pick out like what size range in those garments or whatever they're offered, and like how many in each, and then like they'll be shipped from the market or like whoever the vendors are like for that season. But you like always shop a season ahead.
Okay, so you're in control of the stock.
Yes, and like what's going to be coming in. So that's like more merchandising based, and then designing is literally creating, sewing, making patterns for garments. And so they work with merchandisers. Like they'll work together because merchandisers will do like trend research and talk to designers about like what's coming in and like what the designer should actually make and like what colors are popular.
Oh, okay. And so then you're on the design side of it?
Yes, but I like the design side because I like the creativity I get and to like make things and create things. Merchandising I don't think is hard. It's just like way more business based.
Oh, okay.
But I like want to potentially intern somewhere that is like merchandising based because there's a lot more jobs in merch than there are in design. And so if I like want to be able to provide for myself in the future, I like should know that side of it or should have some experience in that side of it so that I can just be more versatile.
Right. Design, if you got a degree in that, do you need a fashion design degree or expected to have one if you want to become like a seamstress or something? Or is that more like a higher level, if you're going for the design degree? Is that like, rather than doing the actual sewing of all these clothing items, you're coming up with like one item that all the seamstresses then replicate? Like you're more the idea person than the actual like grunt labor, I guess?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yes, there's far fewer of those type of people.
It's like a really like competitive field. And there's like all the Project Runway stuff and like all my professors are like, pay attention to like the Grammys and all these awards to see like who's wearing who, because it's like this huge thing, and I don't care about that like at all. Like I don't know. It's interesting, and I'm way more interested in like what people are wearing than like who they are.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
And like there are
like,
some like
like the name of all of the famous fashion designers is less interesting than the actual clothing itself.
Well, like the people who are wearing it, so like all the artists and stuff I don't care about.
Oh, okay.
Like it's cool to know like who's designing for who and like what their designs look like and what like commonalities you can see amongst their designs.
Yeah.
Because like when I was interviewing for this fashion job, which is like entry level, I was like doing like interview research on like what questions the fashion design like majors in industry will ask, because it's a lot different than like the basic interview questions, because it's like, who's your favorite designers? And like you can't just say like, oh, I love Chanel, because like the name Chanel, like who designs for Chanel is somebody else.
Yeah. And
so you need to know who that is and like be well versed.
Like Chanel is a bigger company that has lots of designers in it.
Usually there's like I can't think of the name of it, but there's like a creative director kind of who like runs that. And so like whoever they are is actually who's designing for Chanel or who has the name Chanel.
Oh, okay. So there's like one creative designer or like artistic designer for Chanel, or is Chanel such a big company that there would be several of them?
I think that there would be several, but I think there's like usually a head or somebody who's like most.
And that's the name that you got to say at these.
Yes, that's you have to know, because you have to know the industry.
Yeah.
Because like
you have to know at a more than a surface level.
Yeah.
So who's your favorite?
Oh, see, I don't have an answer to that because like I don't. Okay.
You don't follow it enough?
I have had to do I took a history of fashion class, which actually like started from like the beginning of people wearing clothes to like now, and it like went into every
beginning of people wearing clothes.
Yes. Wow. Like literally like cloths that people wore to like today, and it like went through the entire history of it. And so I had to do like every week, because it was an online class, we had to watch the lectures and then find an outfit from today or a dress or anything that like has been inspired by that, whether that be like neckline.
Trace its lineage back to some
and so I
older design.
So I would go on to Vogue.com and look at their runway pictures for all the different designers, and it had to be within the last 4 years too, so it had to be like recent stuff.
Yeah.
So then that's how I've been like a lot more comfortable understanding some designers and like hearing names, because at first I was like, who are these people?
Yeah.
And like, I don't know, you just like, you see pictures like Gucci and you like see all the runway pictures for that, which is like really nice because it's just like an archive of like their 2021 like spring summer collection.
Yeah.
And there's like 30 different looks and you can just like click on it. And then I like dissect whatever they were wearing and how it like.
That's one thing that's kind of cool to think about, not just with fashion, but with a lot of things. Like comedians, for instance, like you ask them who they were inspired by and like what comedians that they like watched and loved when they were a kid. And you can get this lineage of certain people, like going back. I was listening to Mark Maron podcast with Eddie Murphy, and Eddie Murphy was talking about how he was inspired by previous guys going back in time. Like this guy's inspired by this guy, this guy's inspired by this guy, and you can see like their comedic patterns. Like you actually can notice like, oh yeah, they do similar things that person did, and you can look at that with like movie directors or with fashion designers. It's like it all like goes back in time. It's like this ever branching thing into the future of these different artistic lineages.
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of cool.
Mm-hmm.
It's not really something I notice though in fashion, maybe because I don't pay enough attention. How does that like shape itself? Like what kind of looks do you notice?
Okay.
If you take them back through time, what is the thing that you notice about that?
I can
like
like
the shape of a neckline or
tell,
like
kind of,
materials that are used or
yes and no. A lot of the materials that are used have been around for like centuries.
yeah.
But the way the industry works is it's slightly changing now that social media is a thing. But there was like the big designers like Chanel and Gucci and Christian Dior who would have shows.
Yeah.
And because like we didn't have smartphones back then, and like you can't just like pull up a picture of it like back then. So they'd have these shows and select people would be invited, and people would actually like designers from like smaller companies would like go and like try to sketch the designs as they went like
Oh yeah.
down the runway to like get inspiration
They've got
from
like
these
30
pieces.
seconds to sketch the design.
Yeah. It was like it's insane. And like from there it just like trickles down. So like, you know, have you seen those like really obnoxious like runway outfits and you're like, who
Yeah,
would
the ones
wear...
that are so impractical
Yes.
that like it took them 4 hours to even get into the thing.
Yes.
And it's like all held together by like a single needle. If that fell off, the whole thing just crumbles.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So there's aspects that are taken by smaller designers from that like that look that's like completely ridiculous, and that slowly like trickles down.
Okay, like it's so over the top in the original piece, and then it kind of gets distilled into like more subtle.
And people will take different parts of that. They're like, oh, I like the wide legs, or like the neckline is different, and I'm gonna like take that, and that's how like we get to where we are down here.
Oh, okay.
Like the everyday consumer.
So it like comes from like the elite class.
Yes. That's how. Yeah, it's like a big triangle.
Yeah.
But now that social media is a big thing, and you like, and COVID happened, so like you couldn't go to shows.
Yeah.
Smaller like brands and people who like are into fashion, like Rihanna has like her own like line and stuff. They've actually been shaping it instead of like the very elite. So it's a little bit different.
Rihanna's not considered elite enough.
Well, I mean, she is.
She's
but
still
like,
high up there, but not like.
Yeah, it's not like
known
she's just
for having a 100-year-old fashion company.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And like Billie Eilish like has a say in the industry. Like the neon green.
Yeah. Like
that's all her from her hair, because she had like neon green roots, and now it's everywhere. I see girls with nails like that. I see like crop tops like that, and it's all because of her. And like she's not this like huge fashion company that like sets shows. Like she's just an influencer and artist.
Yeah. One thing, this isn't related to Billie Eilish, but it was one thing I was thinking about related to fashion yesterday, was since when did Nike become some sort of like status symbol? Like people are like, if you're like a teenager and you're wearing the Air Force Ones, somehow that makes you cool. But I feel like when I was growing up, Nike was like just pretty basic shoes.
Oh, yeah.
Like nobody cared if you were wearing Nikes. It wasn't like you didn't gain any popularity or status points from wearing Nikes. You might like wearing Adidas shoes, whatever. It's not like
it didn't mean anything.
Yeah, it wasn't some. So I was thinking like these trends that just all of a sudden make something like Supreme what made that
Oh
so,
gosh.
like so popular and so like cool? Is it just some arbitrary choice made by teenagers, or like is the company coming up with some scheme to make themselves more like a more expensive label or something?
Okay.
Because I wonder how it works. Does, for instance, Nike? I feel like their shoes didn't always cost $100 or $200. Like they costed like 40. So which order does it go in? Is the culture, for whatever reason, deciding that Nike is cool, so then Nike capitalizes on that and ups their prices? Or does some executive at Nike think like, wait a minute, if we just like triple our prices, all of a sudden that'll create a demand, like people will think we've got something cool going, and then it'll become cool? Like, is it
I think there's
culture driven, or is it like business side driven?
I think you can go both ways, because
Yeah.
I've thought of that. I've thought about it. I think Kanye did this, but forgive me if I'm wrong. He like with his Yeezys and like his whole brand, like he as himself as an artist was already established, and like people liked him, and then as soon as he offered merch, people would be interested in that.
Yeah, you can charge $90 for a t-shirt.
But I think, I don't know if I heard him say this or who I heard say this, that he like offered these things that would, I don't know if they were super expensive or not, but like the inventory he had was so low that like it created that demand that like these are like, there's like not many of these, and so I need to get them as a consumer because like that's cool and like I can like brag about it.
Yeah.
But like those things are only of value if everyone else around you finds them of value.
Yeah.
And so it's like, I don't care. Just like collecting antiques.
Yeah.
Like there's some that are cool, but like it's literally junk.
Well, okay, this is to some degree, or maybe entirely, how I kind of feel about everything. And I feel this way especially about fashion sometimes too. It's like, it's just because the group of humans, for whatever reason, decided to value this thing that it has any value. Like, it doesn't actually matter. It doesn't, like,
Yeah.
like you go to the antique store and in some like vinyl from 1960 that there's only 3 of, like it's worth $16,000, but it's not really. Like,
it's only if you find it. Like
only if someone's, for whatever reason, willing to pay $16,000 is it worth that. And I guess people are, but it's just like this,
the consumerism mindset.
right? It's like if you somehow convince enough people to like something, all of a sudden, like, it's cool.
Yeah, or like people will like you, so you'll be happy, and like it will increase your mental health. Like the amount of people that I see, like, I don't know, walking around here especially, everyone's dressed the same. Like it's the Air Force Ones, it's the black ripped jeans, like it's the crop tops. It's like, okay.
Yeah, it's the open flannel shirts with like the tight like the crop top underneath. It's like a bright color and it's like contrasting. Like, I see certain styles a lot that are just repeated by everyone. It's like, if you're not part of this club, is that really so bad?
No,
like,
I don't think so. Like, and this goes into the minimalism. It's like everyone is, the world, every brand, every business, everybody wants to profit.
Yeah.
And so they're going to tell you that you need these things, and then everybody believes that they need these things, and you just need to keep getting more of them to like, and it's like, you don't.
Yeah, you don't. And with fashion especially, I don't know, for me anyway, I feel like there's no hope in even wanting or trying to follow the trends because it seems so expensive. And so like just accumulating all these things that only will be like good for a year or for 6 months or something. Because if you get on, the Nike Air Force One train, within another year and a half,
it's been going for a while.
It has been going for a while, or whatever the particular trend of the moment is. If you hop on that, the straight jeans that are like, I don't know, kind of too big for your legs, but go straight all the way down. Skinny jeans are out. Now you got to wear those. Look like a short, like you're almost wearing a dress, but they're jeans. Like, you get on that train. You buy these like 5 pairs of jeans that cost $120 each because that's what's cool. And then within a year, now we're on to some other trend, and you just like half your wardrobe you have to replace. It's to me it seems really wasteful, and like, I don't know, you could be spending your money on more permanent things.
I agree. That's why thrifting is great.
I agree with that. Yeah.
It's sustainable, and you don't have to invest a lot into these things that are, and my fashion goal as a designer and just like as a person that like has to wear clothes is like I want to find timeless pieces that like I can wear forever.
Yeah.
And that I can keep and that will last through whatever. I don't know if that makes sense.
Does that exist? Is there such thing as a timeless look. Like fashion, like a look?
Yes. Well, I mean the color black is a timeless color. And depending, I don't know, there's just like really classic styles and silhouettes that have just always been around, and fashion does repeat itself in one form or another, even if it's not like exactly identical.
Right.
Like the flare jeans are back, like just like they were in the 70s. So like everything is like
there does seem to be like this, I don't know, 30-40 year cycle of things coming back on trend, or even shorter than that sometimes. Like you can have like the early 2000s look like come in.
Yeah, the purses, like, those purses are coming back. We have tennis skirts coming back, like.
Yeah, and like one thing that seems to be a timeless trend, or at least so far, is I feel like men's suits haven't changed very much in the longest time.
No, they have not.
It's
they
like,
really have not.
You get a suit and you'll be stylish, I think, until you die with that suit, as long as it fits you.
I feel like that's true, but when people wear suits and how often they do has changed.
Yeah.
Like nobody goes to work dressed to the nines anymore.
But if you do see just a guy walking down the street in like a nice fitting like suit and tie, and you're like, wow, that guy's got style.
Yeah.
For some reason, I don't know why that culturally looks good. I mean, I guess it does, but I don't know why.
Yeah.
Okay, so this was one thing I was wondering. I guess for you personally, but also just for other people, generally speaking, does a fashion designer, is it more about following the trends or more about creating trends, if you can, anyway? Like, are you supposed to observe what's going on and make something that, you know, is gonna make money off of the current hype, or are you trying to generate hype?
I think it depends where you are as a designer.
How high up you are.
Yes, like if you're like Chanel or like Dior, like you're creating those, or you're trying to.
Yeah.
And if you're just like working from Kohl's, it's like following the trends.
Right.
Which I don't ever want to work from Kohl's.
Yeah.
They're based in Menominee Falls, so like my school is like really encouraged to like intern there and do stuff, which like I'm not opposed to interning there, but I don't know, I walked around Kohl's and I've been like kind of disappointed with what I've seen. Yeah,
I didn't realize that Kohl's is kind of like overpriced for what it is. When I was a kid, my mom would always want to shop at Kohl's, and then she'd have those Kohl's cash. Yeah. Just so many of those that she wanted to use like it was some deal. And then I'm thinking about it like, this isn't really a deal. They're giving you these Kohl's cash. You're going to spend more money at Kohl's that you wouldn't have otherwise spent.
Yeah.
It's like $10 off, but it's like you wouldn't have gone to Kohl's for this thing and if you didn't have that. So it's like, okay, this is maybe unrelated. It's about coupons. I was at the store the other day. I was like, I want some ice cream. And then I was like, I have this coupon for 3 Ben & Jerry's ice creams, $1.50 off. And I was like, that sounds like a bad coupon, but I'm going to bring it just in case. I go to the store, I look at the Ben & Jerry's ice cream, and it's like, I didn't want to buy 3. I don't want to buy 3.
Yeah.
If I use this coupon, it's going to make me spend more money than I otherwise would have. And $1.50 off of like a $5 ice cream, I mean, I guess it's like...
Is it total or each ice cream?
It's total. Like total $1.50 off.
That's lame.
So it's like you're going to spend $14 if you buy 3, you're getting $1.50 off of that.
No.
So then I was like, you know what? This coupon isn't worth using. I'm just going to buy the amount of ice cream that I wanted and then not buy any extra. I don't know. Like that's most of coupons. They're just trying to like make you feel like you're saving when really you're just spending more than you would have without the coupon. Because
that's 50 cents off each ice cream?
Yeah.
That's stupid.
It is stupid. And like the only way it's worthwhile is if you originally, without the coupon, were intending on buying 3. But if you're not, you're spending more money.
No, I ran in the same thing because there was like, I was buying tofu.
Yeah.
And it was like buy 3 and like for this whatever. And I like literally sat there and did the math and I was like, so what if I get 20 cents off each thing? I wasn't going to buy 3 to begin with. Yeah. So I just bought 1.
Yeah. It's often not worth it to use the coupon because it's making you just over purchase.
Yeah.
Although I think maybe with coupon or tofu I might have done it, because like another factor that goes into my head with the ice cream is like this is just extra like fat and calories and unhealthiness that I don't need to be having. Or like tofu, I use that a lot and I feel okay about consuming
Sure.
tofu. So, and then like for clothing too, it's like I don't need to buy another pair of socks or whatever it is. I don't need to buy 2 of this thing so I can get 1 of them for free. Like that's just gonna take up more space in my closet.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe I'll just buy the one and leave it at that.
I do have to say, I don't know if this is a coupon, but Metro Market does this thing with BPs, like certain BPs, that if you put your PIN in or you buy groceries at Metro Market and you put like your phone number in, that you get like a certain amount of cents off a gallon.
Yeah.
I don't know if you've heard of that.
Yeah, I've seen places do that kind of thing.
Freaking do it. Because I got 80 cents off of each gallon yesterday. I paid, it's like $3 a gallon now.
Yeah.
I paid $2.10 per gallon.
And you didn't have to do anything or
tank.
buy any extra to...
No.
Yeah, that seems worthwhile. Then.
And I mean, each month I think it like renews and like cancels, but like I'm living on my own buying groceries, and like Metro Market I don't think is super overpriced.
Yeah. That's just the kind of thing. Like, yeah, I guess there are some coupons that are trying to get you to buy more than you otherwise would have. And then there's some coupons or deals that really are only just trying to be about like brand loyalty.
Yeah.
Keep buying from us. So it's worthwhile to use those, but sometimes it can be a little bit shady and manipulative, but not always.
And most like coupons that feel like that have actually worked for people are ones that like kind of require them to like take this survey and you get 20% off your like next entire. Yeah. And it's like I don't really want to, but like I'll do that because I'm going to come back anyway because I have this.
And then you're giving the company more information about you.
Oh yeah, I've never actually taken the surveys, but I never like I try not to. People don't need to know more about me.
Yeah, I try to turn off cookies whenever I visit a website.
Yeah, I like will leave a website if it asks me to accept. I'm like, I never mind.
Yeah. And one thing that has kind of annoyed me for like several years now, I used to work at a movie theater, and one thing that we were really pushing on everyone that ever came in there was the rewards cards. It's like for every, I don't know, $50 you spend on movies, you get a free $5 or something to spend on whatever, tickets or popcorn or whatever. So we were just always trying to push those on people if they haven't gotten them yet. And then like if you're going to the movies a lot, yeah, it's worthwhile. Maybe even if you don't have to pay anything for it. So maybe it's worthwhile to get no matter what. But then you think about it, it's like every single business seemingly that exists is doing one of these rewards cards or loyalty cards. It's like what's the number that it takes before this is just annoying and too much of a burden, and like your wallet is filled with like 37 different rewards cards for these places that you go twice a year. Mm-hmm. So I don't know, I've got some kind of thing against rewards cards. I always just say no to them, even though I mean I guess it might technically save you money if you go there a lot.
My mom like will throw away the card and she'll just like make sure that it's registered under her number so that they can just like put the number in and she can get the points. But the credit card loyalty things, I cannot stand those. Where it's like, you want to save an extra 20%? Sign up for a credit card. And it's like, no, I'm not going to. I actually was like unaware of how I thought I went to Ulta like last summer because I needed to buy moisturizer and I had a gift card. So it would be free.
Yeah.
So I went there. And I like grabbed it, went to the checkout, and I thought that she was asking for my like phone number so I could like get the points or whatever. And she was like literally trying like filling out the credit card thing. And I was like, then she like asked this question, and I was like, what the heck? And I was like, I don't know, like I don't want that. Like I'm sorry.
I made a similar mistake to that before. I used to work at Gander Mountain, but before I worked there, I went there to buy like a backpack or something like that. And at the register, one thing they do is they don't exist anymore. They went out of business.
I saw that.
But one thing they used to do when you're at the register, they would just try and sell you the Gander Mountain credit card. And I was there and they were trying to do this to me, but I didn't realize it was a credit card.
Yeah.
Like I thought it was going to be loyalty card.
Yeah.
So I was like, yeah, sure, whatever. So then I like filled out the form, and then still didn't realize at the time. I don't know how.
No, I get it.
And then I, like 2 weeks later or something, I get in the mail, like some letter from Gander Mountain saying that I was declined the credit card. And I was like, and then I realized at that moment, like, oh, I had signed up for a credit card, and I was really glad I got declined because I did not want a credit card.
No, exactly.
Yeah. I still don't even have one, a credit card.
Really?
Yeah.
I have a secured credit card.
What does that mean?
So it's like the pre-credit card, because you can't just get a credit card if you have no credit history. Right. So it's like, it's based on like how much you make. You like bring in like a check stub so they can see, and then they like allow you to spend like so much of that. So mine's capped at 300.
Oh, okay.
And so I just have to like make payments regularly so I can like build credit.
Yeah. So
that I can eventually one day have a credit card. I
know that as a responsible functioning adult in today's society, I probably should own a credit card. And I think I'd probably it'd be very easy for me to maintain good credit because you just have to
if you just
spend a small amount of money and just pay it off every month, like
gas or something. Like,
yeah, like I'm not in debt. I don't have impulse purchases that ruin me financially.
Same.
So I'd be fine with a credit card. But I have this I just don't want to get one because I think it feels to me so like just messed up that the entire industry of credit cards, I don't want to be a part of it. I don't want to function in that machinery.
I get that, but I also have this dream of like owning a duplex and like being a renter as a second income outside of my own job. And I think will need to take out a loan for that or something. And so I need credit for that, for them to like, yes, we trust you. Take this money.
Yeah. Although, I have a debit card and I make payments on things and I have like rent and all that. So I probably have a credit score even though I don't have a credit card.
Yeah. I don't forget how you check that.
Yeah. And apparently checking it makes it go lower, which doesn't make any sense.
Are you serious?
I
I took a personal finance class in high school and I thought, do you get to check it once every year or something?
Something like that, yeah.
Okay.
If you check it too frequently, it goes, yeah. And then there are like the sites that are like, you can use us to check your credit score and it won't go down.
Yeah,
it's
Credit Karma or whatever.
Yeah.
That's one of them.
It's like, so you're saying it normally goes down just by looking at it? That doesn't make any sense.
Well, like, how about this? Make your payments on time.
Yeah.
Don't miss any payments and your score will be fine.
Yeah. I guess for people in more difficult situations than I am, that's a hard thing to do. If you've got a shitty paying job and kids and stuff, and you got to decide which bills are more important than others to pay and which you can go late on for a month.
It's never fun to be late or to not pay something.
Yeah. So more about fashion though. You were taking this history of fashion class.
Yes. That was during the pandemic.
Was that last semester or?
Yes, last spring.
So what kind of trends don't exist anymore?
Oh gosh.
That used to. Are there any interesting ones that you kind of wish would make a comeback?
I mean, I don't wish that these would make a comeback, but you don't see like ball gowns anymore.
Yeah. Is that something people would wear? Like, would those only be worn to like balls, or would people wear them just out?
So it was more so for the elite class.
Yeah.
In like the 17th and 18th century, more so. Women weren't like not allowed to work. So they were like to be at home and to like raise kids. And like if you had daughters, like you were to like educate them the best you could to take them to balls, because that was like the social media.
Yeah.
Like that's where they mingled and met people.
Right. You just raised them to be like socialites. They need to have like
speak languages, know how to paint, like play piano, sing.
Right.
That like was everything.
Be charismatic and
have like
friendly
manners and like everything related to that. And so like that's what those ball gowns and dresses were for. The prettier they were, like the more money you had, and like you just wanted your daughters to marry rich. That was your goal.
Yeah.
Basically.
Get rid of your daughter into the richest family you can.
Exactly. And then if you had men or if you had boys, they would like obviously get a job, but there's like to like go into the church, like serve the church, like law, and there was like something else was like elite class did.
Mhm.
There's like the peasant work that did like farms and stuff, but
Yeah,
like
yeah.
they didn't go to balls really. And if they did, they weren't like as extravagant as like the elites.
Yeah.
But they owned like all the property. So if you read like Jane Austen, if you like have read any of her work,
I haven't read Jane Austen. But
I took a
I'm
class,
familiar.
and I like not only it was a literature class, so we like not only read like I think they're like her 5 or 6 major books, but it was also like a history class of like what went on during this time period and like why like some of this stuff was so appalling to some people because like at the time, because to us now it's just like, oh, a girl like rejected a guy and didn't want to marry him, but like back then like you either got married or you became like a white or what's served in someone's house as a maid.
Right.
And so like your whole goal as a woman was to get married.
Yeah.
And so like in Pride and Prejudice, if you've read it, the main character, which I'm blanking on her name, like kind of rejects a guy who is like really rich.
Yeah.
And
In favor of a different guy, or does she end up being single?
she actually ends up being with him, but like at first she rejects her cousin because it was normal back then.
Yeah, to marry your cousin.
Yes. And then another guy was interested in her, and she was kind of very sassy to him, and they eventually got together. But there's just like in Pride and Prejudice, there's 5 girls, and like the property rights goes to the next male in the family. So after the father dies, there's 5 girls, and the only person that's in line next is the next oldest male, which in Pride and Prejudice was that cousin that like asked to marry the main character. Yeah. You also wanted to have boys because you wanted to keep the property in your family.
Right. That was something that growing up, I had a legitimate fear about. And I didn't realize that our culture doesn't necessarily work that way anymore. I was worried that, like, since I'm not the oldest boy in my family, that I would inherit nothing. I was like, oh no, like my oldest brother is gonna get like the family fortune, as if there were a family fortune.
Sure.
But I didn't understand that there wasn't one when I was a kid. Like, no, I'm not gonna get anything. Like,
Gotta kill them all.
Yeah. So I'm very happy to have learned that that's mostly out of practice. People don't operate that way anymore.
Not in the Western world, really.
Yeah. Oh, I wonder if it still works something like that with like, rich, really rich people.
I would believe. I could be open to believing that would be true.
Yeah. I'm sure, like, if you're the second son of a rich person nowadays, it's not like you get nothing, but maybe you don't get the family estate. You just get like a few $1 million
like
or whatever, which is a lot.
Dad's job in the
running
the business.
Yeah, he doesn't hand down this business to you that you have no experience under at all. That happens way too much. I was watching this video, Undercover Boss, and
I feel like I've seen that.
it's a horrible, horrible show. Like, it's just so depressing because it's like
I think I've seen that
CEO,
with like Dollar Tree or something.
Oh yeah, it's like the CEO of the company, goes undercover as a regular employee. Somehow, I don't know how anyone actually believes that, when like a lot of companies, they like shove in your face who the CEO is. Like, I used to work at Trader Joe's. You watch like videos and like documentaries of like basically Trader Joe's propaganda, like how great our CEO is and everything. So it's like, you're aware he could not pull that off because everybody working at Trader Joe's would recognize his face. Or when I worked at the movie theater, like the CEO of that movie theater actually appears on screen before every movie and thanks you for being there. So it's like, it wouldn't work. But anyway, the CEO goes undercover as a regular employee for 1 week and does the job at least for a few minutes a day and meets the people. And at the end of the week, maybe he fires some people that were doing a bad job, or the ones who like he thought were doing a really good job, he like gives them a new car or puts them on a vacation.
Or a raise.
But that's the thing, it's like almost never a raise.
Oh, really?
Yeah. It's just like, you're a great employee, here's more work, or like here's a thing that's like a temporary, like, I'm gonna spend some money on you, but I'm not gonna spend money on you long term. Like, here's a new car. I feel like there's probably a few episodes where the guy gives him a raise, but it seems rare to me. It's usually just like, here's
momentary.
Yeah.
Like,
here's a nice new like object that you can have.
Yeah, like what if you get a new car? Like, can you sustain to keep that up?
Yeah, probably not.
With like the wage that you are given.
Yeah. In a way, it kind of reminds me like of Oprah, where it's like everybody gets their new cars in the audience. It's like, wait a minute, I
New
can't
car
I
for
can't
you.
afford this car.
Really though.
Especially, I think when you're gifted something like that, you still have to pay some sort of like taxes on it. So it's like, if the thing is expensive enough, it actually may bankrupt you to be gifted it.
Yep. Like, here's a boat.
Yeah.
Now you have to find a place. You have to
Right.
like have a car that can have a hitch so you can pull it places.
Yeah.
You have to store it somewhere in the winter. You have to clean it.
Yeah.
You have to dock it somewhere, but that might cost money. Like,
Honestly, the best option is just to immediately sell it.
yeah. Turn
Yeah.
around, be like, never used.
But anyway, the show Undercover Boss, one of the episodes was about the CEO of Hooters, which
Oh my gosh.
I've never been to a Hooters, but so the guy, his like dad started the company in like the 50s or something, and the guy was like, I wanted to be an engineer, but then like when I was like 35, my dad's like, son, here's the company, you're gonna be the new CEO. And the guy had absolutely zero experience running a company or like a restaurant or anything.
Oh gosh.
But it's just like, because he was the guy's son,
He just got
he
it.
got the company. It's like,
You wouldn't even like spend years like training
no,
and like
no, he's just like,
instilling.
his father surprised him and like, I don't know, didn't want him to be an engineer or something. So he just kind of forced the company onto him. He's like, I guess I'm doing this now. So I don't know. That kind of thing happens way too frequently. The nepotism of, just because you're a rich family and you want it to stay in the family, you pass it along to your children who don't have the experience and aren't capable of actually doing a good job.
It's not setting them up for any success.
Yeah. Oh yeah, creating was the other aspect of the fashion thing.
Yes.
Do you spend a lot of your time creating physical fashion items?
I feel like there's a lot more time spent on like developing concepts.
Like drawing stuff?
Yes.
Okay.
Like, so we do mood boards is what they're called.
Yeah.
You can do it on like online, like Illustrator, or you can like do it.
Make a physical one?
Yeah. And so it's just like a collection of pictures and things that like convey a mood for what you are creating. And then depending on like what you're making, like if you're just doing a single garment, you don't need a ton. But if you're doing like a whole collection, it's like 5 or 6 pieces, then you need a lot more to like draw from. So you can have like pages.
Oh, like a mood binder.
Yes. One of my professors was featured on New York Fashion Week.
Oh yeah, I was gonna ask about that too.
Yeah, and so she brought in one of the dresses that was featured, because I think she had like 5 or 6, and like her mood book, all these like pictures that were taken, the fabrications that she was like playing with, like all of these things. And she's like, I originally started off wanting to like make silk garments and then like paint on them with like paints, and then it turned into like her whole collection being based on like a flower and like seeing that in 6 different dresses. And so like what she like originally wanted to do versus like working through her whole process of like finding pictures and images and like drawing came out completely different.
Yeah. Do you follow Fashion Week?
Not really, but I should. I think I'm gonna have to like pay attention to it more and more that I get closer to actually getting a real job.
Yeah. What's the world of fashion designing that you would want to get into? Would it be like the high fashion stuff? Or would it be more like when you design something, or how the clothing that you want to be making, is it more like practical or more like artistic?
I would love to be able to do both, but ideally practicality and like sustainability.
Okay.
So like pieces that are timeless and that will last you through trends, and that are more like basics,
Okay.
but like are made with good quality and like sourced from good places that like actually benefit. Because like I've watched this documentary. I didn't watch it actually. I listened to it on like NPR, and it's like the cost to make one t-shirt or something. And they follow like the brand jockey and like what goes into like making these white basic t-shirt like undershirts that guys wear. And like we have cotton farms in the US, and like we ship it overseas, and like a lot of their stuff was like being made in Bangladesh, and there's no regulations on buildings or anything, and so
Yeah.
like factories have collapsed and killed people, and as soon as like Bangladesh starts thriving and like people start making money and like there's actually jobs there, the cost to make it will go up, and so they'll just pull
Move
out
it,
and
yeah.
go to a different place, and it's like, how is this helping anyone?
Yeah. That's
And it
one
just
one thing that
makes
comes
your
up in like every industry.
profit margin bigger, but like,
Yeah.
is it? But everyone's after money.
Yeah, you outsource it to the cheapest place you can.
And
so you
like
can-
I understand that from a business point of view, is like you
Yeah.
want to keep your costs low, but like, is it worth letting people die?
Right. And I wonder a lot of times, is it worth like the reputational damage, if any? Like Nike was on a small amount of trial in like the early 2000s because there was an expose about them using slave labor for their clothing, and they got out of that by like basically paying off the people who were
Upset.
Yeah. But I wonder, like, if you're running a company like that, trying to have the highest profit margin you can by using third world countries' cheapest labor, like, you know, children making your underwear, is it actually even worthwhile in the long run to do that? Because, you know,
You're gonna-
ideally anyway, someone's going to find out and they're going to stop buying from you as a company because, you know, you're exploiting, you're not like following human
Yep.
rights laws.
Mhm.
So,
There was, or I know of some like labor that is sourced overseas but is run by like families that like make stuff. Like
yeah.
when I worked at that boutique before I was fired, we'd have like certain like sweaters, and it was like knit from this like one family in this other country. And like I've heard of like factories that have been owned by families that like will still do like cheaper labor, but like it's dangerous.
Yeah, they have to install like suicide nets on some of the like sweatshops in China and whatnot to prevent the people from killing themselves
Yep.
that work there. Which, I don't know, if you have to do that, I think you've got a whole bunch of problems that we've been dealt with a better way. But one thing that would be really great to have, but who knows when it'll happen, is a more standard set of laws, like nation or like globally, because this isn't fashion, but cruise companies like Norwegian cruise, whatever the big, there's like 3 big cruise companies, and they basically like legally they're based in, I think it's like El Salvador, so that they can get away with having the bare minimum like human rights laws possible for like the people who work on their cruise ships.
Oh my goodness.
So like according to the laws that the country, like of the country that they put them, they say they're from, which I mean, they're not. They're like the company's literally called like Norwegian Cruise Lines, but they're based in El Salvador, just so that they can basically have people work like 16-hour days at like $3 an hour, that kind of thing.
Why would you want to work there?
I don't know. Like, I don't. I mean, people choose. Or maybe a lot of times, maybe it's not even a choice, but people have these jobs that are just so shitty that it's hard to understand why they still have them. But maybe the alternatives are just as bad, or maybe it's kind of like if you've been doing something for long enough, it becomes normal, and even if it's shitty, like at least it's keeping you alive.
Sure.
Yeah. So I don't know. It's kind of a hard thing to convince companies to do, is like, don't outsource your labor to these third world countries.
People or companies are like using that to like get consumers to buy. Like, oh, this may be more expensive, but it's like sourced ethically,
right.
And like it's like turning the tables.
Yeah, there are those companies that, yeah, they rely on like a positive image of the company for you to want to purchase for them. You have to make up for the fact that it's 3 times more expensive with the fact that like you're not supporting child labor.
Yeah.
At least hopefully.
Yeah.
I could imagine what some of these companies are doing is still like they're functioning exactly the same way. They are supporting child labor. Now they just charge more and say that they're not, so that people feel good about the purchases. Because how do you track that kind of thing down?
Yeah, I do like the brand Patagonia because they are more sustainable, so they used recycled stuff. But I don't know where they stand ethically or how they are.
Yeah, I don't either. I haven't owned anything from Patagonia, and I actually didn't know they were a company until a few years ago. And I was working at whatever job, and some customer came in wearing a Patagonia hat.
Yeah.
So I must have appeared really stupid to them. I was like, so like, how do you like Patagonia? Like,
Oh, like the country?
or like the area in Brazil. Like, is it a cool place to visit? And then they're like, I haven't been there. I'm like, why are you wearing a hat that says Patagonia on it?
Oh,
Not realizing that it's just the name of a company. I was thinking like it was a type of thing they buy as a tourist when they go to a place.
yeah. Oh, that just like has the.
Yeah, it's like Disneyland. I've been there.
Yeah.
I'm wearing the shirt.
Nope, that's a brand.
Yeah. I learned like the next day and I was like, oh, wow, I'm an idiot.
I didn't know it was a place until after the brand, and I was like, oh, that makes sense.
Yeah. It seems like a cool place to visit.
Yeah. Now that COVID is calming down, you might actually, yeah. Well, now that there's a vaccine, and so there's hope of normalcy, people will be able to travel again.
I'd like to. I was planning on going to Peru.
Yeah, I remember that.
And it didn't happen. Yeah. Okay, so when you're creating, like, what kind of thing do you like to create? Is it like a type of clothing item, like an article of clothing that you're more into, or is it just anything? Like, are you equally as enthusiastic about making men's wear as women's, or is it only women's stuff, or is it dresses, or is it like,
oh, okay,
accessories? Like,
sure.
what's the
thing?
What's the thing that gets you going?
So I've actually not made menswear yet, and I think I will this next year with the design classes that I am taking. I do enjoy dresses. I feel like I tend to stick to that just because it's like a shirt, but I don't need to make pants and a top. It's like a whole outfit in one.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Do you own any, like, do you make the stuff that you wear or anything like that?
No, I wish.
Yeah.
That I'm like trying to get there. That's why like that dress on that dress form like is the start, because it was a pattern from a shirt that I had like previously made, but I like altered it and I needed to see how it was going to fit, and just like especially in the front.
Yeah.
But I have like fabric and stuff, but I've been working so much, like full time, so I've not had like the time to like, oh, I get to like relax and sew and make myself clothes. Not had time.
Are you a skilled sewer?
I would say so.
Did you have to take classes for that, or is that something that you learned like as a passion?
I took classes. So in 6th grade, we had to take like a home ec class.
Yeah.
And we had to make these like locker caddy things that would like go in our locker, and we could like put things in them, and they had like pockets and stuff. And they like went through the grates of the locker and buttoned. So I learned in 6th grade how to sew. My grandma is like really into sewing. So it's just like in the family. She never like taught me how to, but I'd like see her do it, and she'd make quilts. And then in 8th grade, me and my friends had like a little purse business thing, which actually I'm gonna grab one.
Oh yeah, do it.
I have 2. This is my wallet currently.
Nice.
And then this just has like medication related stuff, but I still use them to this day. We didn't even like make the quilted pattern on it. It's just fabric, and we put zippers on it and like made the ends so that you could like pack more in them, and we'd like sell them to friends, and it looks like Vera Bradley stuff. So they would, like, people that didn't know that we went to school with, they'd be like, why are you selling Vera Bradley stuff? And we're like, well, you're not, we made it. And like we'd sell it at the farmers market and stuff. So I've just like
cool.
always been handy with sewing, because it's not that hard. It's like I've never found it hard.
I've never even tried to sew. So.
It's like there's a foot pedal, and you'd press it and it starts moving. And you'd just like.
Do you have a sewing machine here?
I do. It's like on the floor over there.
Okay.
Yeah.
Nice. Oh yeah, one thing you were saying before about your one professor who started with the idea and the end result became something completely different.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like I've noticed that a lot with my own like creative endeavors. For a few years, I was making a board game, and it just kept on changing so much. Like I would like have some idea, write down a bunch of rules and like cards and stuff, and then I'd make a prototype of it, and then I would play it by myself, and then realize there were elements of it that didn't work or that weren't as fun or whatnot. So I would get rid of them and then have new ideas and change them. And now I'm in like the 4th edition of it, and it is not similar at all to the idea that I started with.
Yeah.
It's like evolved and devolved in different ways so much. And then one thing that's like from a creator's perspective, always a challenge to overcome that I have some friends who have problems with it too, is like, when do you stop? Like, when do you consider your project finished? 'Cause as the creator of a thing, whether it's like a board game or a book or an article of clothing or like a video or whatever it is, you could always do some more tweaking to it. And like, the image you have of it in your mind is probably never actually going to become a reality. And at some point you just have to decide that you're done and that you have to be content with what you made, even though in your head you could probably think of some more things that could be improved. But if you do that, you'll never finish. You have to decide at some point to just let it be good enough and not let perfection be your enemy.
Oh yeah. I feel like digitally this is a lot more possible. But if I'm making something on Illustrator or like a design or something, I can make copies of it and play with like
Right.
4 different ones or like 4 different ideas, and then whatever I like, I'll like continue with that, and then I'll make more copies of that and keep going on with that.
It'll just like, it's just evolution of itself going on.
Yeah, but then if like I don't like it, I can like retrace backwards or like pick another one of the variations that I've started to make and like play with that.
Do you ever run into issues of never finishing? Just like never being satisfied with the end result, so there is no end result, you just keep going?
So when I'm designing and I like create an idea and I like draw it out, that's what I'm creating.
Yeah.
And like that is the end result, because that is like what I said was like good enough in my head.
Right.
And like I can get more ideas like as I'm creating to like change that into something else, and then I'll like draw another one, and then I have that possibility of like going back and like I already have paved the way for the majority of what I'm making if I'm going to make like slight alterations to it.
So then do you consider the slight alterations like a different thing? Like, you have this initial idea and that's what it's going to be, and then if you come up with later ideas that there's like, these are just 2 different dresses I'm making now, like they're not like, because like for instance for writing, one thing that's hard for me and for other people who write things is like, you think of a story or like a premise of a story, and then you think of maybe like 4 or 5, 10 different ways it could go, and you're just never for sure which one you want your final piece to be. And I imagine maybe for like creating clothing, the nice thing about that is you could just create all of them instead of having to choose one. For a story, you can't really just make 10 different endings. That's not satisfying as a reader. You have to choose on an ending, and that's how the story is. But for like clothing, you could say, ooh, like it could be like this or it could be like this. Why don't I just do both? Like have 2 different like pieces of clothing that use both of my ideas. Is that just easier to get over with, like the perfection thing as a fashion designer, do you think?
Yes, but I feel like I have an end goal in mind of
Yeah.
like something that I want to achieve, so it's
not really a problem.
Yeah, it's not like an open door. It's like, okay, this is
Right.
where it stops.
Okay.
And so like once I create that, I'm like, okay, I've completed this task.
Yeah. Do you think that's just like a you thing? Like you have a good way around this problem, or do you see that with other, like, do you know people that you go to school with that have difficulty
Kind of
coming
like
to an end?
while they're in the design process of like actually sewing or like draping the design. So like draping is when you take like pieces of fabric and you just like go on the dress form and you start like literally draping it on there in different ways and pinning it, and then you can like mark it and transfer it to paper and like create a pattern that way.
Oh, okay.
And so while people are like actually draping, because they've created the image and they're like, okay, now I actually have to make it. And they're like, well, what if I want a belt? What if I don't want a belt? What if I don't like the hemline and I want to change it? And like my professor is like, in the real world, like when you have a job and you pitch this idea to merchandisers, they're expecting that.
Yeah.
Not what you think you can do better. So you have to give them that even if you don't like it.
Yeah, you need to pitch a finished idea rather than like maybe it could be
like this is what I'm making, and then can make something completely different, and it's like that's not what they're paying for. They're paying for this idea. And it's like in my mind, because it's happened to me where I'm like, oh, I should have done this.
Yeah.
It's like that's when you make a note and you draw it like something else. Or you draw what you're thinking, and then you can always go back and like revisit it.
Yeah.
You just can't for this specific task.
Right. make into a different new project instead of
Exactly.
the same one.
Yeah, the amount of people who have gotten yelled at by my professor about that. They're like, you can't. Like, you're already this far. If you make changes, like slight changes, like, okay. But like drastic changes, it's like, no, this is due.
Yeah.
Like, we had a fashion show in the spring. You can actually watch it on YouTube.
Oh, I can link to it.
Yeah, you can. And I'm in it.
Nice. Oh, you're a model in it, in the fashion show?
I am a model for my own work.
Oh, that's cool.
And I did win an award. So.
Wow.
Yeah.
What was the award?
The Historic Dress Award. So.
Is like a period piece of clothing?
So we were given a piece from like the 60s. And from there, we had to like, the dress was like our inspiration. So we like had it in class for a few days. You could take like 1 billion pictures of it and like how it was shaped, what like techniques they used, what fabric, what colors. We had to take that and make our own mood board based on it and create our own dress based on this other dress. And so like I used like, I had to like write a paper on it because normally when you pitch your ideas, it's like live and in front of like 3 judges.
Oh.
Yeah. And like they basically are like, is this good enough or not good enough to be in the show because we only have these many slots.
Yeah.
And so we couldn't do that this last spring for obvious reasons. So I had to write a paper and I just like played on like the 1960s and like all the revolutions that were occurring and how like whatever. So yeah. And then I made my dress and I think there's like, I think there were 8 people in my class, but it's really interesting to see like we all like drew from this one dress and look at all these like completely different dresses that everyone else created.
Yeah, that is pretty cool. It all comes from the same source. It ends up different.
Yeah. But yeah, I can send you the link.
Yeah. Oh yeah, I will link it in the description of this podcast episode. So another topic that we touched on a little bit so far, but is minimalism.
Yes.
Would you call yourself a minimalist?
I'm a work in progress minimalist.
But like you want to be?
Yes, ideally.
Okay.
Detachment from things.
Yeah.
Is the goal.
What about it draws to you or like calls to you?
I guess this sort of goes into my faith a little bit, but it's like this earth and this world is not home. It's not where I'm going to be forever. And it's like, why would I don't know. I want to do and prepare the best I can for like where my soul is going to go after this. And being attached to and like obsessed with all these earthly things is just like tying yourself down.
Huh.
So it's like...
Yeah, that's a take on it I haven't heard before about minimalism. And
it's just like a lot more freeing to a person. Like if you're not in the whole concept or the constructs of society of like, you need to do this thing by this age and you need to have this and you need to have a car, like a nice car, and you need to have a house, you need to have a dog. Like you need to have all of these things to be happy because that's what everyone else has. Yeah. And it's like keeping up with the Joneses in a way, but it's like you don't. Yeah. You don't like, is that actually going to serve you any benefit? Right. Yeah. Other than debt. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I come at it from like the angle of, in a lot of ways, I guess practicality. Like that is very true too. Is it is it useful to own so many things? Like, do I need to have all these pieces of clothing that fill up my room? Like, do I need to have all these different like books that I've read one time? Like, if I'm gonna read a book, am I gonna read it again in the next 10 years? If not, why do I need to own it? And like for moving purposes, like so annoying to have to use multiple moving trucks full of stuff and carry all these heavy boxes. And then from the like money side of things, like it's just so much money you're saving by not buying stuff you don't need to begin with. One thing I'm on the fence on is like the aesthetic look or the aesthetics of minimalism, because I do like the look of simple, not like cluttered, but then on the other hand I do like the idea of like a nice full bookshelf. I don't know, so I'm a bit conflicted there with how I would ideally, like if I didn't have to worry about money or any other sort of practical problems, how I would want like my living space to look. Sure. Do you like the look of minimalism? I do, but sometimes it can be kind of cold. Yeah, it can be a little bit robotic or like
unfeeling or
Yeah. And
like you don't have a personality because you just live in a white room with nothing in it.
No, and I feel like as a minimalist, it's like your goal is not to be at zero.
Right.
It's to be like, to have the things, everything in your life has a purpose.
Yeah.
It's like, do you need 5 pairs of scissors? No, you probably just need one. And so like, even as simple as that, like I decluttered and I have like 2 pairs of sunglasses. And like, do I need to? Probably not. But like, I have them in my car.
Yeah.
And so it's like little things like that. But like, not even, or physical, like you can be a minimalist with physical things, but you can also be with like other areas of your life.
Yeah.
Like, I feel like with noise and like entertainment and just like social media, like that is a lot and it's loud and people are telling you things all the time. It's just really distracting. And so like even not being online for like certain days of the week or just like literally sitting and doing nothing.
Do you like avoid social media or spending too much time on like technology? Do you have like set boundaries and rules for yourself? Like I don't use the internet on Tuesdays or something?
I have in the past when like I first started this journey where I would like go weeks and months without going on Instagram.
Yeah. Which
was like insane for me to think because it's like, no, I would spend hours on there every single day. And then it was just like, no. I didn't like...
Did you just go from hours to none?
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Most of my life is just like one extreme to the next. So like even going vegan, that was like one day I woke up and it was just a choice vegan? I made. Yep. And
I didn't do it that way.
No, I know it's probably not healthy to do it that way, but it's like...
It's probably much harder to do it that way.
It's all a mindset.
Yeah.
And I was like ready for it, just like I was for social media. And like, it wasn't like I didn't get urges to like want to do it.
Right.
But I just saw patterns of like who I was becoming and how shallow like chasing after likes and things can be. And it's, and I had just gone through a breakup or I had just broken up with someone.
That's usually a good time for change.
And it literally made me who I am today. Like,
how long ago was this?
The end of 2019.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, but I'm back together with them, so.
Oh, really?
Yep.
Well, that's interesting that a breakup with the person changed you a lot, and then you're still with that same person. It's just like they're with a different version of yourself.
Yeah, it is. And like, I definitely needed that time to figure out what I value and who I really am outside of that relationship. And it's really weird because I don't know how to describe our relationship other than like our souls just like connect. And it's not like, it's just as soon as we became friends, because we didn't date for like a year after we knew each other.
Yeah. And
then went that whole almost year of dating, we did not kiss. And it was just like pure...
Wait, you were dating for a year and didn't even kiss?
Yes.
Wow.
Yeah. And so it's not like, oh, there's this physical thing and we're just like can't be away from each other. It's like, no, it was much deeper than that.
Wow.
Yeah. And so when we separated, it was like really hard because it's like, I didn't just like lose my boyfriend. I lost my best friend. And like, but then we found our way back to each other. And I'm happy that he felt the same way that I did.
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah. So.
I like the way you put it though with the minimalism in terms of like attention. Your focus not being split, not being distracted all the time between all these different things.
Dopamine rushes.
Yeah. And like just being addicted to technology. I would definitely recommend that everyone stops using Instagram if they can. Because I don't know, that's a app/site that I feel like is especially bad for people's mental health.
No, do you know what's worse than that?
What?
TikTok.
Oh, I haven't been on TikTok really, but
don't. It like sucks you in worse than Instagram.
Yeah, is that like why the format? It's videos rather than
it's
primarily pictures.
I had TikTok for a little bit because I loved Vine.
Yeah, Vine was pretty cool.
Oh my gosh, that was my app. And then it went away. And so I was like, okay, well, TikTok's kind of like the new Vine, but like nothing will ever be as good as Vine.
Yeah.
And I just like, I kind of checked out of TikTok when I checked out of Instagram, like with that breakup thing. Yeah. And I was just like, I wasn't into it. And then just like hearing about the stuff that goes on, young girls being over sexualized and just like the lack of social justice that they try to advocate but is like not there.
Oh, okay.
It's just it's not good. And then the algorithm is just like so sneaky and
like predatory, like trying to get you
yes.
just waste your life on it.
Exactly. And that's like, we're not here to just be wasted away and distracted until we don't exist anymore. Like,
so you haven't used TikTok really since then?
Not unless like somebody will send me one.
Right.
And like, it's funny, but like I'm happy I don't have the apps.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't have it either. And that's kind of a thing that I like to be minimalistic about too, just like what I have and do on my phone. And this kind of carries over from my last phone where I like literally did not have the space to have anything. Like I had to just delete everything basically because it was like a 6-year-old phone, and how Apple likes to do evilly and sneakily is constantly do updates that make your phone worse and fill your phone up, so that when you like look through your phone's storage, there's this giant chunk of like system that you can't get rid of, and it's like they're just slowly making it worse and worse. So I had this older phone with like the lowest storage possible that you could get with that version, and then eventually it was like, you actually can't even use your messaging app anymore because it takes up too much space. So my mindset around like what apps I have and like what I do on my phone is like, just don't have any apps basically.
But yeah, I use my phone mainly to take pictures, and like I don't even take pictures of that much, or that like pictures and videos of that many things, because I'd rather be in the moment than like trying to scramble to take a picture or video of like what is happening.
Yeah, I hardly ever take pictures, which probably might be something I regret later in life, like not having any pictures of myself. But I use my phone primarily for texting and like searching on the internet.
Sure.
And YouTube, that is an app, or that, not an app. I don't have the app, but that's a website I use a lot.
I do too, but I use my laptop because I just like, it's a bigger screen.
Yeah. What kind of YouTube do you watch?
I've been lately.
Is it like a genre?
It ranges from like different people's like vlogs that I just like follow to like, I watch a lot of Middle Ground.
Oh yeah, I've seen those.
Yeah, just to like, on topics that I don't even care about, just to like hear the points and like, I don't know, see people have open conversations even if they are opposing.
Yeah, that's pretty nice to see. A lot of times it's like conversations are so antagonistic, or they just don't even happen at all. It's like you don't want to talk to anybody who you disagree with, and if you do talk to them, you're gonna be angry and like yelling at them, which is kind of sad. Yeah,
the level of tolerance is very low.
One thing that happened kind of recently that I saw, it's a little bit troubling and isn't quite related, but a little bit related to that, is apparently like Facebook is starting something of allowing or like having people be deemed like experts, so they can control like the information that is like deemed valid or not. Like I guess Facebook users can become experts so that they can flag things as misinformation.
Oh.
Which I don't know, seems like a bad recipe.
It does. That does sound like, bad.
Not even from any one perspective, just like whatever your beliefs are about how the world is, like it seems like that could go wrong on any side of it.
Yep, I agree. That does not. Why would they offer that?
Yeah. Okay, so you mentioned Catholicism from the perspective, or minimalism from the perspective of Catholicism,
yes.
or at least from your faith, which is Catholicism, right?
It is.
So that is something I find interesting. I do know a lot of religious people, but I don't think I know, at least closely, many Catholics. Did you grow up as a Catholic?
I did. Born and raised. When I got to college, I kind of questioned like my faith and like what that meant to me and where I wanted to go. I had a lot of Protestant friends.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So it's like learning the differences, because when I got to college, I didn't think there were any differences between like Christian and Catholic, but there are.
Yeah.
Yeah, there are.
How did that shape itself? Did you find yourself like becoming more Protestant or?
In ways, it was very appealing to me.
Yeah.
But my heart and soul has always been with the Catholic Church, and like spending time understanding why they do what they do and the differences, because a lot of Protestants don't like the Catholic Church or
Yeah.
like a lot of the tradition that follows. And so I got a lot of backlash from friends, and like it made me wonder like why that doesn't sound right. Like why would I want to support that?
Yeah. Yeah, there's a big tension between Protestants and Catholics,
There
especially
are.
like in Ireland. Yeah, where people are literally killed over
Yeah.
that. So what's life like growing up as a Catholic? Do you have to do the confirmation and like the
Yes.
process?
All the sacraments.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I was fortunate enough to have parents, especially my dad, who is like actively pursuing his faith and isn't just like, we're going to church because that's what we do.
Yeah.
And so when I had a lot of questions, I was able to talk to him about them, and he like would help me like find answers and like provide explanations. But yeah, I did my first communion in second grade, and then before that was like your confession, your first confession.
Hmm.
And then in high school, I did my confirmation, and then I think that's it so far till I get married or become a nun.
What's the thing that happens when you're married? Just
Oh,
another...
that's a sacrament. It's just marriage.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Just like a rite of passage for the Catholic Church.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's it's deemed a sacrament because it's like in the church, like marriage was created for you and like your spouse to help each other get to heaven. Ultimately, is to become holier people together.
Is having children a sacrament?
No.
Oh, I feel like that one should be. If marriage is going to be, I feel like having children should be. But
yeah, it's not. I mean, you just raise your kids in the faith, and then they like.
Yeah, I feel like there's so many denominations of Christianity, and I grew up as like a non-denominational Christian.
Sure. Mm-hmm.
Do Catholics do baptism?
Yes. Oh yeah.
I
I think I might have skipped that one.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
Do you do that? Like, what age do you?
Infant baptism.
Oh, okay.
I haven't looked into it as much because my partner is Protestant. So
okay.
yes, we have.
Is that a problem?
For
like marriage prospects, I guess.
Yes and no. We've kind of like we've discussed it, and yeah, we've discussed like how we wanted to do things and stuff, and it's respectful, and I don't know.
My aunt was not a Catholic, and she married a Catholic and became Catholic because like I guess is that a pretty standard thing? Do you think that like
you actually do not have to be the same religion to be married in the Catholic Church.
Oh, okay.
So
but is it like, even though it's not a requirement, is it still pretty like standard that it happens?
Or kind of, yeah. Well, my mom, I think she was baptized as a Lutheran, but the only school that would accept her when it was like time for her to like go to kindergarten and first grade was a Catholic school. So my grandma's like, all right, you're going to Catholic school. Yeah. Like, we don't have a belief system really, but you're going to Catholic school. And so my mom like went through it, but I don't know if she didn't go through any of the sacraments. So then when she met my dad, and they were going to get married, she was willing to convert. And so she had to like do all of her sacraments in one day, which is usually the night before Easter. Like, you can be like baptized, confirmed, have your first communion, like all of that.
Just all at once.
Literally, yeah. And oh yeah, it's not always then, but a lot of times it happens to be then when like new people are welcomed to the church or convert.
Is there like a process for converting, or is it relatively simple?
So there's an RCIA class. So
what does that stand?
Rights of Christian something. It's basically a class that explains the faith. Like, if you're going to be this is why we do what we do. You're not forced to be here. Yeah. Like, but you take the class and you understand the faith and what is expected of you, and then you like get. It's usually like a year-long class. I don't know.
Yeah.
Sometimes you can retake the class if you're just like unsure, but it's like, it's not like, okay, you're taking the class so you have to.
Mm-hmm.
It's, I believe you have the ability to take it again and decide you don't want to do it.
Yeah.
So
From like a Catholic perspective, how important is like the institution? Because my feeling, not being a Catholic, is that compared to other denominations of Christianity, like the Catholic Church is like a very important part of it. Like you have to be like part of like the church, whereas maybe if you are I don't know, some other form of Christian, like you don't necessarily have any feeling of like community with the wider like rest of the people across the world who are your same denomination. Sure. You don't care so much about what the higher ups of the organization have to say. You just like go to your local church, and your faith is more of a like a personal thing. Or the feeling I get is like Catholicism is like, you know, there's like the Pope who's saying whatever he's saying, and like that matters to people.
Sure.
Do you personally like care much about what the Pope says or does?
So this Pope, he's kind of all over the place, and he actually recently came out with something about the Latin Mass and like basically the whole service being said in Latin. I don't know exactly what happened, but I know it upset a lot of people, and like as a Catholic, I don't like look to every single word the Pope says.
You don't feel very tied to that?
Not exactly.
Okay.
It's more so like, who is my like priests and pastor, and like what are we doing in the church that I'm at?
Okay.
Yeah, if that makes sense.
So it's less a connection to like Catholicism as a whole, but rather like the church that you go to. Is that accurate-ish?
I mean, the church, so the word Catholic means universal. So like every Catholic church should believe and teach the same thing. Right. So no matter where you are, you're getting the
there's got to be something that makes you Catholic and someone else not Catholic. Yeah. There's a question I want to ask, but I don't know like a specific way to ask it. I feel like it's too open-ended. But I guess what I want to know is like, what is like the worldview of a Catholic like? And that's just leaves too many answers open. So I'm trying to find a way to put that. Okay, I guess maybe one thing is like, are there any like core principles that differentiates Catholicism from, I don't know, Protestantism?
Well, as a Catholic, like part of, since the pandemic has happened, people like have been like watching church online and doing stuff online. But as a Catholic, like we believe in the true presence of the Eucharist, like the bread and wine, like becoming Jesus's body.
Transubstantiation. That's like a thing that the majority or even all Catholics
they should
believe?
I only think like there's less than half that actually do believe that.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Okay.
A lot of people are just cultural Catholics.
Right. Okay.
And it's just like, okay, this is what my parents did, this is what I'm doing, but I'm not actually learning. And like, I feel like most of that time is when the faith is like misrepresented, because it's like you're not actually pursuing what this actually means, or like what this belief system is. You're just like, you're just kind of there.
Right.
So like that's a really big thing. One of the reasons that I am Catholic and not Protestant is because you can trace the Catholic Church back to Jesus.
Okay.
And like his apostles and like what he instituted, and that mostly aligns with the Catholic Church today.
So it's like the most accurate representation of
Jesus'
like, teachings.
Yep. And there's like a lot of history. The Catholic Church has been around a lot longer than the Protestant Church has. And so there's a lot of like theologians and people that have written things that are like really rich and helping understand why we believe what we do. And like, I don't know. I just like, I have like a bigger archive of things that I can pull from, because like a lot of the Protestant, like what I've read some books and like seen some things, and it's like, you're just saying what the Catholics are saying. Like you're just realizing it now though. If that makes sense.
Another difference between like Protestant and Catholic is that Catholics, in order to like go to heaven and be a good Catholic, it requires faith and good works, right?
I love this question.
Whereas Protestantism just requires the faith part.
Yes.
Yeah.
I think it's in Ephesians 2, where there's like a verse that like talks about it. But so yes, that is true that like the Catholics believe faith and works.
Yeah.
But you cannot have true faith without it producing works.
It's like a natural consequence of believing.
Yes, correct.
Okay.
And so like there's nothing that I like feel like I have to do as a Catholic that's any like that should be any different than a Protestant, other than there are sacraments.
Mm-hmm.
But like sacraments are created to like deepen our relationship with God, and it's not like check this off.
Right. It's not a bucket list.
It isn't. And so it's not like, oh, I have to do all these things.
Yeah.
Because it is like, I think a lot of people miss the relationship that Catholics have with God. It's just like, oh, you're just like doing these things and it's so emotionless, and you just stand up and all sit down at the same time and you all say the same words. But like if you really dissect the mass and like what the posture of like how like when we sit versus when we kneel is all different, like, and it should be changing. Like it has to do with the posture of our heart. And like when you stand, you're like listening, and when you sit, like there's purpose behind everything.
Oh, okay.
Isn't so it's not just like we're making this thing for you to do, and like we just want more people to be Catholic, so this is how we're gonna do it.
Yeah. I guess what's the word that Catholics use? Is it mass for?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
For the service?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is mass more like ritualistic or like ceremonial than for Catholics than like for other churches? Do you know? Like,
I would say yeah.
Yeah. Have you been to other churches?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
Oh yeah, you were saying that you went to your boyfriend's church
yes.
a few weeks ago.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
How do you? I mean, maybe I don't want to ask a question that creates I don't know, a problem with you and your boyfriend. But how would you? What feelings did you get when you were at a different, like when you go to a different church? Like
Sure. So I feel like this also has to do with just like the area or like what I was raised going to versus like what I'm exposed to now.
Mm-hmm.
But it just seemed not superficial, but just like very charismatic sometimes.
Oh, okay.
And it's like I love the sacredness of the Catholic Church, that we like read the Psalms that are like literally in the Bible, and we're not reading some like rock Christian song.
Yeah.
And not that it's always that, but just like
I've been to those churches where
yeah,
they're like literally doing rock music, and
I
yeah.
just there's like a sacredness and a holiness of like singing acoustically and like hearing the echoes in the loud church, and the focus isn't on us, it's on God. And
Okay.
it's like our silence and our time with him and being with him, and not ourselves, and not like what the pastor has to say to us.
Yeah.
And like it's really nice when Catholic priests can actually like give good sermons and like share things that's not like boring. Like
Yeah.
the church that I go to now, there's a young priest there, and me and my boyfriend both really like him because he preaches very well.
Okay. Yeah, I've had some church services where I was literally falling asleep.
Yeah, we've all been there.
Okay, can you run me through the format of a Catholic mass? Like, what is the order of events that happen when you go? 'Cause I've probably been, like, my aunt's like Catholic, so some of my family members are, so I've probably been to them. I just don't remember the differences.
So there's like the opening song.
Starts with singing.
Yes. Okay. And then there's like 2 readings and then a gospel reading. And like they're singing in between the readings and stuff.
Like, so there's gospel, meaning like the four
yes.
gospel. So there's like, what, the other ones are like Old Testament or?
So there is old and new, and I think it just depends.
But usually like a mix of old and new in
I think so.
Mass. Okay.
Yes. And then of course there's a gospel reading.
Yeah.
The priest will like preach on the readings, and he'll like pick whatever he wants to combine all 3 of them together and like whatnot. And then there's singing, and then there's like the offering of gifts. So then you like can donate money, and then there's the preparation of the bread and wine, and then there's usually a song, and then like the closing prayer and closing song.
Yeah. Is there a lot of like conversation or like gathering with the Catholic community like before or after? Like, do you hang out with people afterward? Or?
So most of the time it's after, and I do believe the Catholic Church could definitely improve its community and like relationship building.
Yeah.
And it depends what church you go to, because some of it's like really good and some of it's just non-existent.
Yeah.
The church that I go to is in Shorewood, and there's a school attached, so it's like kids will come to mass or whatever twice a week. So there's like the parents and the community of like young kids, which is like nice, and then there's like the younger pastor, and so they'll do events, and they have like a website that's up to date, so it's easy to like engage and like be a part of the community. And then it's like the church that is like associated with UWM, the Catholic Church at least, because there's different churches or whatever. So there's also like students that will come too.
How long have you been going to the church that you're going to now?
Probably a year and a half. Yeah.
I probably won't be able to get this out in the editing, but if you're wondering what that sound is, I think somebody's
it's out there.
cutting down some hedges or something. Whatever.
Oh, well.
Yeah. Does your church do like clubs or like Bible study or like other days that you show up to do like stuff? Do you go to those?
I do not. I haven't. Just because last semester I lived at home.
Yeah.
And so it's like 30-minute drive from my house down here. And then I like work and I'm in school. So it's like any off time that I do have is spent doing homework.
Yeah.
But one of my friends went there, and she like introduced me to the church and some of her friends. And so like that's how I got introduced to the church.
How much of a requirement do you think it is, like, to be a good Catholic to go to church like every Sunday?
Well, you can be Catholic and not go to church.
Yeah.
But to be like a practicing Catholic, you do go to church.
Right. Like you should go every week.
Yeah, and you should see the importance of it as like you should be able to give 1 hour of your week to God.
Yeah. Do you think it counts the same, or do you think you can give an hour of your week to God from home or like by yourself, or is it I don't know, not the same as going to the church?
I wouldn't say it would be the same. Yeah, of course, like you can sit and pray and you should do that.
Yeah. But like if you were to choose to, instead of going to church, spending your Sunday mornings like praying for an hour or two or so, like in your own home by yourself, would you view that as like being good enough for to upkeep your faith? Like
during COVID, there was a dispensation, so you weren't required for the health and safety of others. But now that like the vaccine is available and you're not traveling and you're not sick, it's an obligation that you do go, because it's not about you. It's not about, I'm comfortable sleeping in and doing all this stuff. Like it's an act of surrender and humbling yourself to go, even if you don't want to.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And we want to receive the Eucharist. Like that is
that I guess transubstantiation, according to the like the Catholic thinking, is that something that can only occur in the church? Like, could you give yourself?
I could not. Priests are only allowed to.
Oh, it has to be like an ordained priest.
Yes, it does.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
Can an ordained priest give himself?
Yes, he can.
Eucharist from home. Okay.
I think he can. Okay. He can provide, or he can. Yes, because I would like watch and listen to mass every day at noon during COVID, and it would literally just be the one priest.
Yeah.
And no one else would be there.
Would he be at the church though?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Or the little chapel.
Yeah. Do you know much about nuns?
I know a little bit. It depends what order you are in.
Okay, what does that mean exactly? Like,
so
what are the different
there's
orders?
Different like focuses. So like with priests too, there's like different focuses. So like there's the Franciscans who are like focused on serving the poor and being with the poor, and so they like their whole order is about like we have like one like robe set or something like that. Okay. They do not buy food. They go out and like beg for food, more or less. They'll like go to
they get food donated to them?
Yes.
And then they give that food to the poor?
They do, and then that's also what they like survive on as well.
Okay.
And so they have like limited funds. They all have like chores and responsibilities to do, and then there's like other I'm more familiar with the Franciscans just because I listen to like they have a podcast that I like, and it's actually really interesting because you kind of like they joke around a lot, but then they also like talk about serious things.
That seems just a little strange to me. So they the food they get is from other people. Their podcasting equipment, did they buy
See,
that?
that's all donations and
Okay.
stuff.
Okay.
So like it's purely on donations, and most of anything that they get, that money is used for resources to help them help
Okay.
others. Yeah.
So somebody donated the microphones.
Yeah. And
Interesting.
if they did, like, they like raise money to like also like have to be able to like continue to do that.
Right,
So
right.
nobody's
They have
walking away with money in their pocket. They
And,
all
none
like
of it's for profit. Yeah.
live together in this dormitory or something.
Yeah.
But there's like Carmelite nuns, I believe, that like go into like silence and just like pray. But then there's also ones that like help. There's like a sister order of the Franciscans, and they like do things as well.
Yeah, I live a few blocks away from
Convent?
convent. I was gonna call it a nunnery.
Yeah, a lot of people do.
That's actually a term that's legitimate, a nunnery.
I don't know if it is, but I know that
Okay.
people say it, and I know what they mean.
Yeah, and I was just seeing some nuns like go into there, and I was thinking, like, what are they doing in there?
A lot of times it's prayer.
Like all day, like
Some, yeah.
just pray and eat and sleep
Mm-hmm.
for their entire lives. Wow. Do they like? Because I was thinking, like, do they write books or something? Like, do they have meditations on like God, and they're trying to like write that down, like Aquinas, like.
I actually have a book upstairs I showed Matt. I brought to work once, and it's like all the different revelations that God has given to like the religious or non-religious.
Yeah.
And like miracles and things that have occurred, and like what they've seen on heaven, hell, and purgatory, and what like that means. So like there's Saint Faustina, who is like shown hell and possibly heaven. I don't know. And she writes about it, but she has like a diary that you can read. But the church like authenticates it and like goes through like a series of like, does this line up with like everything else that like, does this contradict the Bible? Does this does this affect, like, does this change God's character? Like it goes through a huge process.
It's like a review board.
Oh, of course.
The Catholic Church that sees if what you're saying is canon.
Yeah, exactly. Because like they are the ones that put together the Bible.
So, okay, one thing I'm curious about, because this is something I've heard other Christians say as like a, I don't know, argument against Catholics or whatnot. What would you say to people who say that Catholics are like worshiping false idols? For instance, like the saints.
Sure. So we don't. So saints and like are, you know, when you like you ask somebody to pray for you, it's just like another source of help. It's not like I'm praying to you for you to help me. It's like I'm just calling upon you to also deliver my prayer to God.
Okay, yeah. So it's what's the word for that?
Intercession.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, not praying to the Virgin Mary, but praying to the Virgin Mary to pass it along to God.
The best way that I've ever heard Mary be described is she is the moon and like Jesus is the sun, and so she just reflects him.
Oh, okay.
And she has no light of her own.
And that's like how it would be for all the saints. And all the...
And it's like, and their lives are just more examples of us, like, who want to live holy lives, like how, like, to live it. Like, I don't know. There's saints that have like written books and stuff, and if you like learn about their lives, they were not perfect people. A lot of them were like, it's like hilarious to like, you think like, oh, you're a saint, so you're like perfect, but like no, they weren't. And they had their flaws too, and it's funny to read about how they would like argue with other nuns in the convent over like really stupid things, but also like we're super close to God. It's like, no, you're just another person.
Yeah. So then how do people become saints? Like
there's capital S and lowercase s.
What's the difference? Capital
is like recognized by the church, and like the Pope will like, I don't know what the word is, but like basically deem them a saint. Like
knights them, basically.
Yeah, so they get the uppercase S.
Yeah.
And then there's like lowercase ones who haven't been recognized by the church, but like are or have.
Well, like somebody's got to be calling them a saint. Like, is it what the local community calls them a saint, and then they don't get the uppercase S until the Pope agrees?
I think so. It's like their life is still under review, or like they're looking into it. Because to be an uppercase S, you have to like have been able to have performed a miracle. Somebody's had to have like maybe the miracle has to have occurred through your intercessions, like after you've died, and they've asked, like, called upon you to like help, and somehow, I don't know, there's like criteria for it.
So, okay, so then
I don't know all of it, but I know, like, I've seen and like heard some of it.
How would you define a miracle? Like, what does that mean to you?
Something that has no like explanation other than just like, I don't know.
Oh, okay.
No scientific backing could explain it, and so therefore. So
something that can't be explained through. Is there any cases? I mean, maybe you're probably not an expert on miracles, but I'm wondering, like, are there cases of things being called miracles, and then after a certain amount of time, the progression of science or whatever, the miracle status gets revoked? Is it? Do you know if that's ever happened?
I don't think it has.
Because I would imagine it could happen. Like something maybe in the 17th century, it's called a miracle because they couldn't explain it.
Oh, sure.
And then 200 years pass. Like, wait, now we can't explain it.
Sure.
Is it still a miracle?
Yeah. I know that miracles, to be called miracles, the Catholic Church also like
looks into it,
extensively researches to make sure that there isn't any bias or whatnot.
Right.
Yeah.
So like the Catholic Church as like an organization, their take on things, like the list of miracles that exist, is that something that the average Catholic accepts? You believe that each of those things are actually a miracle?
Like that happened with saints, or just like transubstantiation? Well,
sure, like that, or like the one that I always think of is the like Our Lady of Fatima miracle from like 1918 when it was in like a town of Portugal, the town of Fatima, where the sun like got
Fatima,
Fatima, got bigger and swirled in the sky.
I read it the other day.
Yeah,
because it was in that book.
The one that you were talking about. What's it called?
Oh, I don't know. It's just like it's like a compilation of like miracles and apparitions and like different Catholic things.
Right. Okay. Because that one I find interesting because I won't go too much into it, but I just feel like there are other ways it could be explained. Like people do have hallucinations occasionally,
but
even shared ones.
But there were like thousands of people that gathered.
Right. And there's also like, instances where people have a shared experience that they all attest to being true that sometimes isn't, like for instance people who have UFO sightings or things like that. So I just wonder, like, how high is the bar for something to be considered a miracle?
Well, I know with that people went there as skeptics to try to disprove and like what occurred. I know like the sun like danced through the sky, everybody was soaked, and then the next minute all their clothes were dry.
Yeah.
Like, I know some of those kids like actually got to experience like what hell and heaven were like. Mary like came to them because I know she appeared to them a few times.
Oh yeah, like beforehand.
And like was like, she's coming back this time, and that's how everybody knew to come
there.
like check it out.
Yeah, that's another thing that you said before that I was curious about, like the belief system, like purgatory and heaven and hell. From a Catholic perspective, like what is the function of purgatory?
Of purgatory?
Yeah.
So we don't, like, as humans, as sinful beings, like we have the ability to go to heaven thanks to like Jesus dying on the cross for us. But heaven is like complete and utter goodness that is God, and we are nowhere near that perfect, like that perfection. And so purgatory is a cleansing of our souls to prepare us for that. Because to know like something that is true and like good and beautiful, and to like be able to acknowledge that, like if you were to have like these two options, and one of them is just like amazing high quality, I know we're both vegans, but like steak dinner with like fancy wine, and it's just like the epitome of like the best meal ever.
Yeah.
But you are used to McDonald's and like Mountain Dew, and somebody offers you this, your ability to see the good, true, and beautiful of like what this actually is tainted. And so like purgatory is kind of that like cleansing and preparing. Because like when you walk out of a movie theater in the middle of the day and it's just like super bright and you have
you're
to
expecting it to be
adjust,
nighttime.
you need that time to adjust. And it's not in like you are in purgatory with the promise of heaven.
So then what does like purgatory look like? Like what is it? Like do you do anything there? Like
So I heard there's levels to it from what I read from what saints have like attested to. But it depends like what level and like how bad you were on earth or like how far away your soul was to like.
So is this like a
being aligned
spectrum
with
then,
God.
like that connects heaven and hell? Like almost like there's steps up that are pretty close to hellish, and then you get closer and closer as you go.
So
to heaven?
that's what I've read. But yeah, a lot of it is just like, and you can read this in the Bible of like the cleansing fire, and they're not referring to hell, but they're referring to like
purgatory.
God. Yes, and it's like if you look at when you're making gold, I believe that like you burn it until the imperfections are all gone until you can see a reflection in it, and then it's good. And it's like that is what purgatory is.
Okay. So then you said that they're sort of like if you're a bad person, does that mean that like if you're a Catholic and you believe in God, that like can you still go to hell, or would you just go to an awfully low level of purgatory that takes a lot of work to get out of?
I don't know, because how like
is hell reserved for non-believers or for?
It's for those who reject God.
Yeah.
So like you can identify as a Catholic and still reject everything that the church teaches and who God is.
Right.
Hell is a choice. It's not like we're going to damn you to this. It's like God is like, this is what I'm offering you. This, I want to be in communion with you. I want to know you. I want you to know me. I want a relationship with you. But if you don't want that, if you don't want me, then you get hell.
I've got some opinions on that. But, okay, so with purgatory, one thing I wonder is, do you know of, maybe not mainstream, maybe even mainstream, but do you know of any ideas that would suggest like Catholics who believe that we already are in purgatory?
I've heard the beliefs that we can suffer on this earth like we could in purgatory to help lessen our time in purgatory to go right to heaven.
Okay. How do you know the difference? Like when you get to purgatory, you would have full and complete memory of your earth life and existence.
Oh, I have no idea. If you would be able to recall that?
Yeah.
I feel like you would be able to, because it's like your soul.
Right. So then I guess you would know that if you don't have a past experience on earth, then you would know the difference between being in purgatory and being on earth. One would hope.
Yeah. I think you would. I don't know. I'm not sure.
Yeah, because then I wonder, like, is there a way to go downward, like in purgatory, like, you know, maybe reject God while in purgatory?
I don't think you'd. I don't think you would.
Yeah.
Because like on earth, like this is different than hell. Like because hell is the complete removal of God and the removal of any hope. And so on earth, like we can't even justify what that would be like, because like we still have that still have relationship with God if we choose so. And so hell, like I've heard, what I've read is terrifying, and I don't want anybody to be there. Like I don't want anybody's soul to be like damned to like what is down there, because most people like have Christian values whether or not they identify as a Christian, because they want what is good for others.
How do you think about people with other religious beliefs? For instance, like accepting God. Is that something you can do if you were like Hindu? Like, do you think a lot of like, for instance, like Hindu people could be like accepting God in their hearts without realizing it? Or is it basically like if you're Hindu, you're going to hell because you chose the wrong God?
I don't know. I don't want to like mislead or misspeak on it, but I know Hindu beliefs is there's multiple gods.
Yeah. Well, I think even in Hinduism, there's multiple gods, but there is like the one supreme God, like Brahman.
Oh, really?
Is like above all.
I'm reading through the Old Testament right now, and a lot of like the people and the kings are like going after false gods that aren't actually God, and nothing has ever been benefited. Like no one has ever benefited from that. Like, and God has always like shown up and been like, hi, I'm the one true God, and like prophets have like called upon him, and like he's like shown up, and I don't know.
Yeah. One other thing I wonder about too is, so like God, obviously, as like the idea of God would describe, like all knowing, right? That's part of the belief. So then it seems to me a little bit, at least, of a seeming contradiction between an all-knowing God and God giving you, say, the free will to reject him. Because then I imagine, wouldn't God know that you, like before even creating you, wouldn't he know what's going to happen, like that you are going to reject him? And then in that way, I kind of wonder, like, what's even the point of this, like Earth right now? Like, if, for instance, God would create a person or everyone and know each individual's future choices. Will they reject me? Will they accept me? You could just, go straight to the
skip it.
Heaven part. Like, these people who, will accept me, just right to the heaven part. Maybe that's one of those questions where as a believer, you don't know because it's like almost unknowable kind of thing.
Yeah. I think, God could like sit on his throne and be like, y'all are going to accept me and this is how it's going to be and I'm going to force you to.
Yeah.
But he's not. And this time on earth is like a time and place for us to build a relationship with him and for him to like, even though he may know the answer, like in the end, like we still have that freedom to choose and to like be in relationship with him and want to be in relationship with him instead of just doing it because like he wanted us to or like somebody else like forced us to.
I also wonder though how much of a choice it really is, because if, for instance, someone is convinced that they believe that heaven and hell exists and that that's the structure of all these things, why would they choose hell though? The only way you would choose hell is not even by choosing hell. It's by not even believing that hell exists, right? Because if you believe that it exists, why would you choose to reject God?
Yeah.
Like, for instance, like I'm not a person who believes in God, but if I did, of course I would accept God. Like I wouldn't want to go to hell. And like, if I do go to hell, it's because I didn't believe it existed in the first place. So I wonder if it doesn't, to me, it doesn't even seem like it's a choice at all. Because like what we believe to be true, like how much is that really a choice that we make? Do you think you ever chose to believe in God, or is that something that you just felt to be true?
I think I
like it's not like looking at a menu and thinking like I could do the God thing or I could do this other thing.
I definitely did consider not doing the God thing.
Okay.
Yeah. And I think that's a turning point in somebody who is like raised in the faith and then they get to a point where it's like, am I going to choose to pursue this or am I going to choose not to believe this to be true?
Yeah.
God has shown up for me in ways that I don't know how to like describe, and I just like, no, this is what I believe and this is why I believe it, and he has shown up for me in these ways. And I could not have explained it any other way, and I could have not have gotten through that part of my life any other way.
Yeah. Okay. This is also along the lines of what I was saying, maybe a better way of explaining it. So for instance, if you are trying to tell me that like pizza is unhealthy, okay? It's not so much for me a choice of whether or not I believe you. It's what evidence do you have to give me that pizza is unhealthy? And if you do give me evidence, then I don't think I have a choice. Like I can't really say like, I'm going to reject your evidence. Like if it's good evidence, it's good evidence. Like I feel like when it comes to matters that you can prove, like if pizza is unhealthy or not, there is no choice involved at all. Like I am a slave to the facts, basically.
But wouldn't those facts prove truth? Or wouldn't there be some truth behind those facts?
Right. Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Okay.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. So like, for instance, if you believe because you think there's evidence behind it, I don't know if that's even choosing to believe. That's just like accepting what is real.
Sure. Yeah.
So then I wonder when it comes down to it, for you and for everyone else that believes in God, do you think it comes down to, like, do you think there is evidence and that's why you believe in God? Or is it like simply a matter of faith?
Sure.
Like if I keep asking you, why do you believe in this? And then you say this and like, but why do you believe that's true? Why do you believe that's true? Is the bottom answer that there's evidence for it, or is the bottom answer that you just have made that like leap of faith?
For me, it's a little bit of both.
Oh, okay.
For sure, like the faith aspect like came first, but there and I'm not the strongest person with the giving evidence on
Right.
why, but there is evidence out there, countless like documentaries and things that have like proved Jesus's existence and who God is.
Right, because one thing that it just seems to confuse me a little bit all the time is a lot of Christians I know always feel the need to like point towards evidence, but to me that seems like kind of at odds with the whole idea of what faith is.
Mhm.
Like, wouldn't faith be an acceptance of God just regardless? Like if it's like, I don't know, some sort of test that you have to choose the right answer, and that
Mhm.
right answer is God, then why does faith even why does evidence even factor into it?
I feel like people can like blindly follow with faith.
Yeah.
And having like evidence as well, like just confirms it.
Oh, okay.
Does that make sense? So you're not like blindly like, oh, they're just telling me to do this one thing and like I'm gonna do it because I have faith. But like there's evidence of why they are doing what they are doing.
So then you're saying that for you the faith part comes first and the evidence like bolsters it?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, it's always really interesting, even no matter how much I might disagree with someone, to get their thoughts on the world and how it operates and what they believe. But fitness, though, completely different topic.
Yeah, right.
So, like, is this a very important aspect of your life?
Fitness?
Yeah.
I'd say it is. I'd say it's very important. I don't think it's the most important, but it's definitely up there.
What is it that you do to
stay fit?
Stay fit, yeah. Like what? Are you a runner?
Yes, I am.
Yeah. I've been trying to get more into running,
yeah,
especially lately. There was a good while a few years ago where I was going like a summer where I was running like most days.
Yeah.
And I got to get back to that spot.
It's nice.
Yeah.
There's a lot of brain health that can come from fitness, not just running. Increasing memory and focus and helps balance hormones like in your brain and stuff. Yeah, and then also being vegan is another way that I've...
Yeah, like dietary fitness, I guess.
Exactly. Very whole plant-based vegan.
Yeah, Whole Foods. Not the store, but the...
Yeah, not the store. I don't like the store that much, to be honest.
Oh, okay. But yeah, like Whole Foods that are complete and not processed.
Whole grains. And, yeah.
Do you like go to the gym or anything like that?
I do not. I do not like the gym. It kind of scares me. Like a lot of people just like working out, and I don't like.
Have you tried like going to gyms before? Or just the idea?
We had weight rooms in high school.
Right. Yeah.
And so like I would use some of the equipment there, but like I don't like using like the machines.
Yeah.
Like I'd rather like go for a run and like be out in nature and like experience like fresh air and.
Yeah, that's one of the best parts of running is, I mean, it's like the joy of going for a walk except sped up.
Yeah. Do you listen to music when you run?
Sometimes. Okay. Sometimes I don't listen to stuff or music, or sometimes like a podcast or something.
Sure. So, yeah.
How about you?
I did when I first started running, listening to music because it was like motivator.
Yeah.
And then I had been listening to some podcasts, and now lately I just haven't, and I've just like taken in all the noises and
the noises of like your environment are kind of nice.
Yeah.
Depending on your environment. If you have a nice like trail to run on, it's nice to have like the nature sounds. But I don't know, if you live in like a kind of more like urban environment, it's just listening to cars pass, which I'd probably rather listen to music most of the time than cars. But yeah, have you ever seen the movie We Are Your Friends?
No.
Well, I like the movie a lot, but it's basically about a guy who wants to be a DJ and creates music, and he like throughout the movie he goes for a lot of runs and he's always listening to music, and then one time he just decides to go running without his earbuds in, and then he just like picks up on all these nature sounds as he's running, and then he decides to incorporate those sounds into his music, which I thought was kind of cool. It just kind of makes me realize like you probably should at least spend some of your time not always attached to
it
technology.
Goes back to minimalism.
Right. Yeah. You should spend at least some of your time. It's probably good for your like mental clarity to just be by yourself and your thoughts and like the
I think
the
it's
natural
very,
world.
very, very healthy.
Yeah.
I think a lot of people numb themselves with like noise and entertainment.
Yeah.
Like I've heard like people blasting music at like 6 a.m. as they're like leaving to go somewhere, and it's like you can't even like get in your car and not have music playing.
Yeah. I run into that problem with myself sometimes. Like, just feeling this kind of, I don't know, arbitrary need to going to or from work or driving my car just to like have something playing in my ears. And then half the time, like, wait a minute.
Isn't it? But
I
in
don't
a
need to do
way,
that.
it's like us wanting to like receive dopamine. Like
Yeah.
there's some kind of reward that like
Right.
comes with it. And we're like subconsciously like trying to obtain like more dopamine rushes.
Yeah.
Even with the littlest things.
Yeah. Yeah, there's that. And then for me, there's also this aspect of like wanting to be as efficient as possible, like wanting to
Sure.
make my time
Yeah.
like
Do multiple
right,
things
multitask, like drive
Yeah.
to this place and listen to this like audiobook
that
at
you've
the same time.
Yeah. That makes sense.
Yeah. But then I don't know, it's really beneficial to just like have your own thoughts and that's it every once in a while, or even to be bored.
Yes.
Some of my best ideas come from moments of boredom.
I've gotten so many good ideas taking standardized tests in like high school. Like while I'm taking the test, I'm like,
Yeah.
oh, that's a good idea. I need to write this down.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I've had that too. I don't know about tests, but just like in school generally, just sitting there in the classroom kind of bored, detached from the lesson and then just thinking of other things.
Yep.
Yeah. This is like a physical reaction that happens in my body sometimes under conditions of like boredom or like lack of stimulation.
Sure.
And I've described it to people every once in a while, and it seems like some weird foreign thing that nobody else gets.
Okay.
But anyway, this is what happens. Maybe it happened the most like during like high school when I was in math classes and stuff. And
Okay.
it's happened sporadically, maybe like at this point once a year in my
Mhm.
life. Maybe I'm up late reading a book. But then all of a sudden what happens is time starts to like feel different. It's like this way that time feels really slow.
Okay.
But then when I move my body, it feels really fast. If I like move my finger, it's like disorientingly faster than I expected my body to move because the time around me felt like everything slowed down.
Interesting.
And then what also happens, I feel like in my mouth and like in my body, like kind of like weird, like not like like something is off, but it's not. There's no like fear involved. It's just like this kind of strange confusion aura. And then sounds are extremely loud. Like I can hear clocks from like other apartment buildings like next to me, like the other units and
Wow.
stuff. And then like if I were to make any sudden movement, it's like dropping a pen. It's just like it's like kind of deafening and
Mm-hmm.
jarring. And it lasts for like 5-10 minutes. But it feels like a long time because time is for me going slower.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then it just goes away.
Huh. Yeah, I can't relate.
I wouldn't have thought you would. Nobody so far has been able to relate.
That's really interesting.
Yeah. I don't know why it happens, but it's always in those kind of moments where nothing is happening.
Huh.
And I'm alone. It's always when I'm alone.
Really?
Yeah.
Interesting. Just never alone and it will never happen again.
Yeah. Well, it's not like I want to avoid it happening. It's an interesting thing that
You want to understand
yeah.
more. Yeah.
so fitness in terms of you run and eat a vegan.
Yeah.
Do you like are you trying to eat health foods or
I try to eat.
you're not
No.
like a junketarian?
What is that?
Oh, the junketarian. It's like people are vegetarian or vegan, but like they
Only eat junk food.
eat junk food.
Oh
like,
my gosh,
yeah.
that's like the Milwaukee area vegan page.
Oh really?
It's just like all like comfort food that's
Yeah.
vegan, which isn't bad, but
Right.
it's like I don't know. That's why I like working where we do because
Yeah.
like there are healthier options, and I think it's a lot more creative than like taking grease or palm oil and
Yeah.
like adding sugar to it and calling it something, and you're like, wow, it's a vegan version,
Right.
and it's like, but you can do so much more with like I don't know. I made beet brownies once.
Beet brownies.
Yes, and they were like red and they were like super rich, and I don't know, my parents loved them, but they were like vegan.
That sounds interesting.
Yeah, and so it's like incorporating different
Yeah.
foods into things and
I
like
think it'd be good if you tried to make it like a red velvet kind of
yeah,
thing.
it kind of was like the color was super like
Yeah.
it looked really cool, and I don't even know if I have the recipe.
Yeah.
It was kind of an experimental thing.
Yeah, I like kind of both sides of the vegan cuisine world. There's those like comfort food like restaurants and like YouTube pages where they just have all these recipes of like turning your favorite dishes into vegan versions of that thing.
Yeah.
And then there's like the health side. Because I think the thing I like most about the comfort vegan food is I feel like it's makes it easier for people to get into
Sure.
veganism.
The transition.
Right. It's like this thing that I've always loved eating. Now I can still eat it.
Sure.
And it's more like perhaps universally appealing. It avoids. I feel like there's this kind of unfortunate stereotype of veganism is the people who only ever eat salads or like that kind of thing.
Oh gosh.
Like people who are like granola people.
That's
like,
what people call me. They call me granola child because I'm just like so like plant based.
Yeah. Yeah. So it's like it gets around that a little bit. And I feel like the more that, at least that right now, to subvert that kind of idea in people that like, oh, I don't want to be vegan because that means I'm only going to eat like these.
Yeah. Oh,
things.
my selection has like minimized.
Oh, really?
Well, no, like people will think.
Oh,
that,
yeah, right. Yes.
That's just
right.
like lettuce and.
Right. The thing is like
nothing.
it's just becomes so boring and basic and like.
Oh no, there's so much more to it.
Yeah. So that's why I like it because it expands what vegan can be.
Oh yeah.
So then you're not a junketarian.
See, I will like I'll go out and I'll enjoy like I don't know, I like finding good vegan ice cream.
Oh yeah.
And like cookies and whatnot from like the public market.
Yeah. Oh yeah, those are good. Those chocolate
You
chip cookies.
You got one?
Oh yeah, I've had them before. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Oh, they're like the best.
Yeah. Do you have anything against the mock meat stuff, like the Beyond Burgers, the Impossible Burgers?
They scare me.
Oh really?
In all honesty, like they just taste so much like meat that
they do. Yeah.
And
at least from our perspective, I don't know if it's just
like 6
I don't
years
remember.
removed.
Yeah.
Like I can't give you an authentic like. Yeah.
But they do. Like sometimes I go to a restaurant, like there's an Impossible Burger on the menu, and I get it, and then I'm like, did they forget?
Are
to
they
give,
sure?
Like, is this the Impossible Burger, or is this just a regular burger and they forgot to give me the right one?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I haven't like on the bus has like vegan.
Yeah.
Yes, and I have not felt like a craving to like have one or like that I need one because I do love barbecue sauce. It's like my favorite sauce.
I love barbecue sauce too.
And they have like what is it, the smokehouse or whatever?
Yeah, I haven't tried that one, but
really, it's like the most expensive burger. It is, but it's really good.
Yeah. On the bus, by the way, is a Milwaukee vegan restaurant. In case you don't know.
Cafe thing.
Yeah, it's not. It's like a little bus.
They make ice cream and it's really good.
Yeah, it's like a to-go place.
Yes.
Oh yeah, their ice cream though, like their milkshakes, I like.
They've let me down in many other areas, but their ice cream always comes through.
Yeah, like their smoothie bowls were let down.
Their customer service.
Oh, okay, yeah. Yeah. So, what other ways do you try to maintain your fitness? Do you like meditate or anything like that?
No, I guess the closest to meditating would be like prayer. Yeah.
Okay. Are you very familiar with like meditation, like what it is and supposed to be?
I mean, I know that like there are Catholic meditations, and I've done like
because I want to ask like when you pray, like if it feels like meditation, like if it's effectively in your brain doing the same kind of things.
Yeah, I don't.
I guess if you haven't like really meditated, then you wouldn't really have something to compare to.
I feel like in some ways, yes, it's similar, and then in other ways, it's not, because it's like it's supposed to be an open dialogue with God.
Yeah, like the goal is different.
Yeah,
in what you're doing.
But it's definitely it's like I don't know, can quench the same thirst of like what you're trying to achieve.
Yeah. I imagine the goal is probably different, but maybe like the physical effects or like the things that are happening in your brain might be similar. But I don't know at all. I don't really meditate very often, but I do sometimes.
Sure.
I like usually do if I'm like feeling stressed.
Yeah.
To have better perspective on the world, and like this thing that I'm worrying about doesn't actually matter.
Yeah, like giving yourself some perspective.
Yeah.
Yeah. I got you. I go for a run when I get stressed.
Oh yeah.
It like helps so much.
Yeah, I guess no. That's actually kind of similar to like meditation too, just running.
I know. Didn't you talk to Brooklyn sort of about?
Maybe I don't even remember at this point.
I think you. I feel like.
Oh, she was talking about like rewiring your brain.
A little bit, but she was talking about like running and being in the present moment.
Yeah.
And how like running is like good for that.
Right.
Which I like agree.
Yes.
It's like
that's the kind of way that it could be
present.
Like, yeah, there's too much. I mean, it's just kind of like a natural thing that people are driven to. Too much anxiety about the future or like longing for the past. It's harder, but more mentally healthy to just
be present,
be in the present moment.
For sure. And I definitely think running is a good detox, or exercising is a good detox, like mentally,
Right.
for you mentally and physically, because like you're kind of just purging all that out, and you're like entering into this pain and like continuing in it, but like also being humbled by it.
And like there's definitely like a strong sense of bettering yourself when you're running, because
for sure.
you can notice that like now you're not as exhausted as you were running the same amount of miles or the same time. You can like just get better and better at being able to run longer. And do you have any interest in like doing marathons or like?
I would love to do a half marathon.
Yeah.
At some point.
It'd be cool. Like when you run, do you like have a goal? Do you try to run farther than you did the previous day or anything like that?
Yes and no. So like I've been doing at least 2 miles. I've run the last like 3 days, including today. And I haven't because my knee, I messed up my knee, and I was like trying to figure out why. So I like took a break, because before that I was running like 4 a day. And so I like let that go down to like 2, and so I'm like trying to build back up, because ideally I'd want to like go out and run like 5 and just like be fine.
Right.
And just not be like phased by it. And then like next would be like a half, but I like slowly build, because you don't overdo it. I don't think you want to go, there's like a rule. It's like you don't want to increase by like 10%, over 10% or something like that.
Well, on a day-to-day basis or
on like week basis, I think,
yeah.
because it's like if you are like running 1 mile for like a few weeks, and then the next week you like, oh, I'm just gonna do like 3, right. Or if somebody just like
too big of a jump,
or if somebody just like
doesn't run at all and just starts to start running right then, and
like go up to like 4, it's like, you're gonna be like sore and your body's gonna be like in pain.
I've had that happen to me before. It's like I haven't run in like 4 months, but I used to run. I'm just gonna do as much as I used to.
And I would do the same thing, because it's like, no, I still have it, and I have to prove it to myself.
Right. Yeah. Running. Okay. Do you experience the runner's high?
Yes and no.
Is it like a physical like sensation, or do you just feel like good about yourself?
I mean, I've felt good about myself, but I feel like other people have had like other experiences.
Right. Some people like report like really intense like euphoria almost. Yeah. Or I've never felt that. I've just felt proud of myself for doing it. Mm-hmm. Usually like the physical sensation I have after running is bad. Like I'm like tired and like I need water really bad and I want to just lay down for a while.
Yeah. No, yeah. I feel like I have like while I'm running, and like when I'm like a few miles in, and I'm like, wow, I feel really good for like being a few miles in to like my run, in which you'd think you'd just be more tired a few miles in, but you like feel better than when you started. Like the first mile of my runs are always the most painful.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that's true. You get into like a groove.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's usually like halfway through start to feel good, but then by the time I'm done, I'm like, I don't want to do that anymore. Yeah. All right, so we've been talking for a while.
Sure have.
Probably time to end this episode. Before we end it, though, do you have any recommendations for maybe a book that you've recently read, or maybe your favorite book, or something like that you think like an actionable piece of advice or thing to do that the audience, the listener, could do?
Anything if it's not a book.
It doesn't have to be a book. It could be a piece of music or something to watch. Just an activity that someone could go do that you yourself like to do.
Okay.
I mean, go running. That's probably good advice.
Yes, I would say that. I don't know how beneficial this will be, but I've really been into this one album by Kanye West.
Is it the newest one that he made?
No, it's Jesus is King, which is...
Oh, that's not the newest one?
No. I don't... Maybe it is. I don't know. I don't follow him.
That's the one I've heard a lot of people talk to me about, yeah.
It came out in 2019.
Oh, okay.
But I've been like...
Yeah, I've heard a few songs on it.
I like it. I mean, just as a Catholic Christian, like, it's great to see artists.
Yeah.
Like...
Is that something like Kanye recently like became a Christian or something, or was he always?
I think he grew up in the faith, but then like didn't really. But then like
this album as a resurgence or something.
Yeah. Oh, okay. I don't know. And then the podcast I listened to by the Friars, it's called Poco a Poco, and I don't know. You have questions about the Catholic faith or just Christianity in general, they do a good job of explaining it and just like everyday life as a Christian and what that should be.
Yeah.
And I feel like in a way it describes it a lot better than like what you may have heard or what Christians may have said to you that may have like turned you off from the faith. Okay. I like them a lot. And they actually do have music. One of the guys like sings songs. Really? Yeah, and it's not bad. And I don't know. So I'd recommend that.
Also, that book you're talking about, do you have that?
Upstairs. Do you want me to go grab it?
Yeah, well, I want to know the name so I can put it in the description.
I'm really bad at names, like reading things.
So this book, Compendium of the Miraculous by Deacon Albert E. Graham. It's a thick book.
It is. It's like a whole...
It is a compendium, yeah, for sure.
Yeah, and I don't know, super interesting.
That just goes through all like the Catholic miracles?
There's like different like accounts from like other saints on like heaven and hell and purgatory, and then like miraculous healings and yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah.
All right, well, thank you for being on this episode.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah. Sorry to take up so much of your time. This is probably a longer one, but I think that's okay.
Yeah. I'm glad.
Yeah.
I'm glad for it. Thanks for the opportunity.